Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to live coverage of racing action here in Las Vegas, Nevada. ROK Cup USA concludes its 2024 season. The only way you really can in karting, it feels like these days, and that's the annual trip to Las Vegas, Nevada. It's ROK Vegas. I'm Tony Laporta, and we are here in the broadcast towers high above the parking lot racetrack in the back lot of the Rio All Suites Hotel and Casino here in downtown Las Vegas. And we are getting ready for our first day of competitive on-track action. Well, almost competitive on-track. Qualifying took place yesterday, so this is like that was a half day of on-track action. We're getting ready for our first day of racing. Let's put it like that. There you see a great look at the Las Vegas skyline. That's what you can see watching the broadcast live here on the ROK Cup USA YouTube. What I can see here inside the broadcast suite is a great look of my esteemed colleague. We're back together again calling karting like it's 2015, and I've just gotten out of my fifth attempt at my senior year of college. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chris Wheeler, that's not just his Instagram handle. That is really who he is. Chris Wheeler, Tony Laporta with you here in the booth. Chris, This is just so special to be here with you.
Tony, I've been looking forward to this one. To be back here in Vegas at the Rio, it's one thing, but to be able to be high above the racetrack here on this amazing platform that they've set us up with, to be with you, it has been a very long time since we've had the privilege of doing this, and boy, am I ready to go racing.
Privilege for you, honor for me when you really stop and think about it. But yeah, we're going to do our best not to get a nosebleed up here as we have a great look at this 3/4 mile long, 12-turn parking lot track, and it's a term that I heard Gary Carlton use yesterday. This is full-on barrier racing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We got to shoot some great interviews with some guys and girls in the pit area here yesterday, but this is live coverage, and there you see it. The 1-minute warning has been given on the grid, live sound and images of ROK Cup USA Racing, and our first race of the day makes their way out onto the track. This is the Orsalon Racing ROK VLR Masters, heat race number 1 for all classes, Chris, that are not split fields. VLR Junior and Senior, I believe, are the two that applies to. Everything else is progressive. So where you finish here in heat race number 1 sets you up for where you start in heat race number 2, so on through the weekend until we get to those finals on Sunday. And I got to do Florida Winter Tour karting with ROK Cup USA back in January, February, and March. You've just been a savant of motorsports for quite a while. When was the last time you were at a big event like this?
It's been a while since I've been to a big karting event. I want to say it was maybe 2019.
Yeah.
I popped out in Indy there. I popped out to Newcastle a couple times, popped out to Whiteland Raceway Park a couple times. But this is probably it, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. Had a long season at work, and what better place to be than back on the road?
Director of Driver Development at Ganassi Racing. That's right, the Ganassi Racing in IndyCar, Chris Wheeler. He's going to be with us all weekend long. Ben Cooper, that's right, Ben Cooper and Martin Stone are the front row here in Orsalon Racing VLR Masters. Renato David and Kyle Hayner make up row number 2. Sean Owens out of Dallas Karting Complex starts 5th with Scott Falcone.
Big to see Scott Falcone back here. I was able to talk to Scott yesterday, and for a 4-cycle driver these days, I'm really excited to see him back here with the ROK.
It was cool watching Scott race so much in Colorado where I grew up. The lights go out, and just like that, we are racing here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Ben Cooper, there's few drivers in this pit area who have done as much as the Brit who resides in Canada these days. Ben Cooper getting the pole position in VLR Masters qualifying yesterday aboard the Cosmic with RPG. He leads them off and running. We are here, and it's a quick lap at under a mile long here, Chris. These drivers fly around this 3/4 mile configuration, and we're already rolling here. Ben Cooper is the leader right out of the gate. We're going to wait for timing and scoring to refresh here as he takes him off through the back section of the racetrack. There's a good look at him right there. The driver, that's 731. So much experience in karts all around the world, especially here in North America. Lap 1 in the books. Cooper, your leader. Martin Stone holding strong in that second position. Renato David in 3rd. Sean Owens 4th. Dan Jones 5th. Scott Falcone, he rolled off in the 6th position. That's where he runs currently.
It looks, Tony, like your big dropper here is going to drop to 8th. That's going to be Kyle Hayner.
Yeah.
So Hayner not getting the starting once, but you talked about it on the pre-show. We're barrier racing. You look at the track layout from above. It's not the traditional, we're going to Vegas, dyno check down the back straightaway.
Yeah.
What makes this place so unique is it's all about flow and it's all about technique. You wouldn't imagine it looking at it before the barriers were set up here by the ROK Cup USA staff and the race director. But it's super, super quick on the switchbacks, and it's all about momentum. With a great product like all the ROK engines, you don't need these big power plants, these customized pieces to be able to run up front. So they made the racetrack built around the driver, and it's going to be action-packed all week.
Well, you take the words out of my mouth as the fight up front continues. Ben Cooper's still out showing the way, but I think Martin Stone's getting ready to try to find his spot here. But, Chris, you talk about the Vortex, the ROK engines performing so well, and everybody really being able to have an equal shot here at Las Vegas. The other thing I've heard rave reviews about are these Levanto tires. Drivers talking about not only do they provide a lot of grip, it's a nice soft tire that you can feel underneath you right out of the gate, but they're not seeing massive amounts of drop-off. It's not like you have one good session on these Levantos and then they're gone. And you know it as well as anybody, a guy like yourself who came out here and set up parts at the Super Nationals to race around a parking lot track. You did that for years. As here we go, a battle for the lead. That's going to be Martin Stone pulling out to the inside and showing Ben Cooper the rear bumper for the first time today. It's a challenge to get a tire on a go-kart to do what you want it to do on a parking lot track. Trouble on the exit of turn number 1. That looks to be the 777 of Miguel Meyer. Miguel facing the wrong direction. That can't feel good early in the heat race.
It can't feel good on the ribs.
No.
That was had to have been a decent plug looking at the amount of barriers moved here. Decently quick little part of the track. Looks like that might have been exit turn number 1. So that one's going to leave a stinger. And, hey, when it's on the Masters class, you got to be careful.
Got work on Monday.
Exactly.
Got to go easy out here.
Exactly.
It's not just all fun and games in Vegas. You got to suit back up and check in for the 9 to 5 on Monday. Martin Stone, the driver who started in second position, paced behind Ben Cooper for the first 2 or 3 trips around the track here on lap number 4 after completing that 4th circuit around. He now shows the way. But Ben Cooper certainly has bullets in the gun. It's becoming a 3-car train here as Cooper slid wide on the exit of turn 5 there to try to make something happen here. But you've also got that 3rd place driver, Renato David, I'm afraid I'm saying that totally wrong. But the 725 of Renato.
Wait, what happened to Scott Falcone?
Scott Falcone.
Down to 23rd. He's out of this thing.
Yeah, I wonder if possibly he could have been involved in that contact with the 777 of Meyer.
Yeah. That's disappointing. We get a thumbs up here from the video crew. They're really paying attention also, and that's a bummer. So you look at the top 5, and it looks like Dan Jones tailing on the back of this group, but I believe it's the 2 RPG runners up front here, followed by Renato, who's actually at the Oyslon tent.
I'm trying to see where Dan Jones, your 5th place driver, took the lights out for this race. Come from fairly far back at 7th on the starting grid. So a nice little 2-position positive right there. And
he's actually purple here in this race.
Going quickest time, last time by 47.143. And you think that's probably impacted by the fact that he can just chase these guys right now, and he's got nobody behind him that he's worried about defending against.
Yeah, I mean, he's got an entire national border out the back. Like, there's nothing to worry about here, kid. Don't look back. But he's just kind of sitting there up on the wheel, trying to tuck into the air, catch the back of Sean Jones here. As these top 5 drivers kind of rolling out here. I believe this one's, 8 minutes plus 2 laps?
Yep, I was just going to check that right now. Micro and Mini are 6 minutes plus 2 laps. All other classes are 8 minutes plus 2 laps.
8 minutes plus 2 laps here, and that can be a long way, a long time around this track. It's super technical. It's not the smoothest surface we've ever seen. As you can imagine, the summers, the winters, the summers, the winters, time and time again. What the weather has done to this surface over the last 20 years that I've been coming to the Rio All Suites Hotel and Casinos here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It is unbelievable the fact that it's actually held up this well.
Yeah.
Tony, as you and I both know, this thing gets beat up.
Used.
And we've gone to proper racetracks all over the world that have spent millions on a repave to meet an FIA certification that can't hold up for 2 sessions.
Exactly.
So kudos to those asphalt layers out here in Vegas from 40 years ago.
Yeah, they know how to lay a piece of pavement out here in this parking lot. Not just getting used up by kart races here in the back lot of the Rio for the last 20 plus years, but there's lots of stuff they do back here throughout the whole year. Calendars are dotted with events back here in the back lot of the Rio, and it definitely takes a beating. This is a really good battle up at the front right now between Martin Stone, Ben Cooper, and Renato in that 725.
So I'm just trying to look here. I saw a driver pull off the back, Tony. I caught it out of the corner of my eye. Not sure what driver that was. But it looks like Falcone's still active.
Probably Kyle Hayner.
So, yeah.
In the 7:26, and that'd be a heartbreaker. He went lights out for this race in the 4th position.
Yeah.
And it's not a points-based heat race formula. It's progressive. So how you finish in each heat race sets you up for where you start in the next one. So Hayner's going to go from a 4th-place starting position in Heat 1 to, it looks like right now, outside the top 20 when we get to Heat 2 later today.
Yeah, I was trying to check to see the 799 of Falcone there, and it looks like Vasquez dropping out, Isaac dropping out, Falcone moving forward. I was trying to see if he had much damage. Looking at his pace to the leaders, about 4/10 off on his best. Last time by, Falcone with a 47.80, leaders at a 47.2. So could be the fact that he's just out of the air. Could have some damage to that hot rod, but he's trying to make the most of it.
That's why you get a guy from IndyCar in here, because even if he can't see the damage or see the kart itself, Chris Wheeler dives into the data. And he tells us what the data says, and that's what we learn from an IndyCar expert.
I spent this last year, Tony, on the timing stand with Kiffin Simpson in the IndyCar series on the race strategy role, and you get really used to looking at information on a screen to tell a story super quickly.
Well, and you also, in your world, you don't see the car for a minute sometimes until they come by the timing stand again. And yeah, you got the monitor to take a look at the TV feed, but they can't cover all 30 cars on the track.
They sure can't.
So it's good to have a guy up here who can relay the data to us. Martin Stone and Ben Cooper have run this way that you see on the track right now ever since lap number 4. Remember, it's 8 minutes plus 2 laps. The drivers are going to come across here, and I believe this will be the I don't know how they're going to handle this one here. It's our first heat race of the day. I'm excited to see if the clock has expired just right now. So I don't know if they'll now come around to see the sticks. I presume that's what will happen. They'll come around, they'll see the rolled up 2 flags indicating 2 to go, and that will signify that we're coming to the end of this first heat.
So Tony, something I'm going to watch starting here today and throughout as we get through heats 1 and heat 2, we progress into tomorrow, especially for the rest of the weekend, is going to be what's happening with the tires through the duration. Because it's an abrasive surface, because the sun's out, the temperature's not crazy.
No.
It's maybe 68, 70 degrees outside right now.
58, actually.
58, wow.
But it's the most comfortable 58 I've ever been in.
It really is. So it's not like we've got these crazy temperatures, but I'm really interested to see what the drivers are going to learn about tire pressures as they get set up and get going throughout the weekend. We saw a fast lap come in from Dan Jones very early in the run. He has not hit that lap in the last 6.
No, lap 3. Lap 3 was when he went purple.
So lap 3 being your in lap there for a guy who's just been able to not really pressure. I wonder if that's too early, and we're going to start seeing some hops. We're going to start seeing some cars lose a little bit of handling. And if that's the case, then we're going to see how the tuners and the drivers make the adjustments moving forward for heat race number 2.
And again, I teased it a moment ago, and there's so much I want to get into with you later, because you came out here for years with Mike Marini and Martin Kuna at Kuna USA, and you were charged with setting up some really young drivers, really fast young drivers' karts, and you have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to setup here. White flag is going to be displayed at the line. This is the last trip around in the Orsilon Racing VLR Masters Heat Race number 1. Ben Cooper started out on that inside front row position. He lost the lead. Looks like he's chomping at the bit here, trying to make something happen with a half a lap to go, as he knows if he can win this heat race, he starts heat number 2 back on the pole.
Well, I'm curious, is Ben Cooper going to focus more on getting himself to win or defending? Yep. Renato out the back here in 3rd. All 3 have checked out now. Sean Owens and Dan Jones cruising in the back. Here comes Cooper to the bottom. He's clear, but here comes the crossover.
Yeah, Cooper made that move, and you brought up a great point. You're in the hot seat when you're second in the 3-car train. It looks like Martin Stone's going to cross him back under in the final hairpin. Cooper tries to keep it wound up on the outside, but these last 2 corners are just flat out not exactly the best passing opportunities. The double checkers wave, and a last lap battle sees Martin Stone hold off Ben Cooper. Not for lack of effort, though, on Ben Cooper's end.
Solid racing there by the top 3. You had the 4th and 5th place finishers, Sean Owens and Dan Jones. They did a good job. They were able to stick with him for a while. Knowing Sean Owens the way I know him, he's okay right now.
Yeah.
He's not bummed out about it. Look, he started 6th, ran 4th, and he has a wealth of knowledge now as we head off later on for heat race number 2. You want to talk about a guy that loves to perfect the go-kart chassis setup. He's going to be in a good spot later on.
This is so cool. This VLR Masters field has just got some great guys and some even better drivers in it. So again, Martin Stone is going to be your winner. Ben Cooper comes home 2nd. I'm going to try this last name a 3rd different way and see if I hit it here. Renato David comes home in 3rd. Sean Owens 4th. Dan Jones rounds out your top 5. Ostagai comes home 6th. Meyer in 7th. Elefante 8th. Caligaro, 9th, and Joshua Daly rounds out your top 10. Then it's Molina, Quinones, Dalbon. We saw those guys back at the Florida Winter Tour with ROK Cup USA. Evan Kozak, 14th, and Randy Rogers. That's a great Texas country band if I've ever heard one. Randy Rogers in 15th. Remy Angel, 16th. Scott Falcone, Sergio Rodriguez, Tom Gershner, and Alfonso Santiago. The top 20 here in VLR Masters. Heat race number 1. That on-track action brought to you by our friends at Orsalon Racing. And as the next grid gets gathered here on the front straightaway, this will be Velocity Racing and Sodi USA ROK Micro. So we go from, I never like to use the term old, Chris, because it's offensive.
Tony, I'm 38 years old, and I think I actually qualify technically to run Masters now, which is scary.
The good news is I qualified to run Masters about 15 years ago.
That was on weight.
That was on
Not
weight.
on age.
That was on weight. But we go from our, let's call them most seasoned drivers.
Most experienced in life.
Yes, to our least experienced in life, our youngest drivers here in the Velocity Racing Sodi USA ROK Micros. And again, you have so much knowledge that I really want to dip into and learn about from your perspective, but you worked with a lot of these young drivers when you were full-time in karting, when you were turning wrenches and you know, doing the coaching over at Kuna USA. So these young drivers, they're getting ready to go out. Yeah, they've seen the track for the last day or two in practice, but they haven't raced around it. They haven't raced against each other on this tight barrier track. So what are some things these tuners, these coaches are telling these micro drivers before they head out for their first heat race?
I mean, there's a good chance, Tony, that a lot of them are just focused on the basics. When kids this age are racing or doing anything, competing at a high level, the most important thing you can do is remember that they're kids.
Yeah.
There's a good chance that there's at least 3 or 4 kids in this race right now who literally are more worried about the level they left their Angry Birds on their iPad before they were told to go to the grid.
Yeah, what they were doing on Fall Guys.
Yeah, I mean, they're kids. And so at the end of the day, some sessions they have it, some sessions they don't. And as you see them mature in their young age and you see them develop, you start to see it come together more and more. And that's the difference maker. It's not about, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of talented kids, I'm guessing, in this next group. I'm going to see them here for the first time all weekend in this next race, just like all of you at home watching. However, a lot of them just need laps.
Absolutely.
And that's something that is said in every form of motorsport around the world. When you're the young one, the least experienced one, you need laps. And so, but I'm excited about it, man. Micro's always been one of my favorite classes in karting, especially on the mechanical side, because a lot of the time you're guessing. Rule number 1, if the kid says it's perfect,
it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's going to be slow.
Yeah.
When he says it's hucklebucking all over the place and it's miserable, guess what? It's usually pretty quick.
Hucklebucking. I'm back in Homestead, Miami in the year 2016. I have not heard that term used. And I've done my fair bit of commentary since we last worked at Hucklebucket. I might have to drop that into a Kubota High Limit Racing event.
Please do.
Yeah, I'll throw that to Chase and say they were Hucklebucking down here.
Yeah, I want to come join you for a sprint car race this year. That's my next goal.
More than welcome. Iker Alvarez is the pole sitter here aboard the number 44. Santiago Orioli, got to watch him a lot during the Florida Winter Tour this season with ROK Cup USA. Orioli will roll off second. Win Gottschalk will start third with Zane Burgess in fourth. Man, Orioli, Gottschalk, Burgess, again, those were kids that we were watching a lot of in Florida back in the winter and into the spring. Ko Saito starts fifth. Alvaro Medeiros in the sixth position. Dutch Westbrook and Nico Salazar with Lawrence Perman and Mauro Narayo complete the top 10. If it sounds like I'm not doing a great job with these names, it's because I'm not. Here we go. It is Velocity Racing and Sodi USA. I can imagine they're going to want this field much slower. I do not think we are going green this time, as they came out of that last corner like the dinner bell was ringing.
Yeah, Orioli was about sixth.
Yeah.
They say you can't win the race in the first turn, but Tony, you sure can lose it.
Yeah, those people that say you can't win it in the first turn, they just don't want you to have fun. I believe you can win it in the first turn. No, of course not. So they're really going to put an emphasis on making sure not just micro, I mean, all these categories, with the exception of the shifters, of course, they'll have a standing start. These officials, Chuck Yoder and his race control staff, are going to make sure. There you see one official right there emphatically telling these kids, hey, we need to bring the pace down quite a bit. And that's really, I think, Chris, just centered around the fact that the slower they come to the starting line, the slower they'll get into turn one, meaning should there be an incident, it's not going to be as dangerous as if they were at a high rate of speed coming into that first corner.
Yeah, it is about safety, and it's about, making sure that the race starts in a fair manner. Right? I mean, it's how many times we've been in Las Vegas with tech pros all around us, Tony, and we've seen 4 or 5 go underneath them. So,
yeah.
Right, you don't want to see it.
Safe and fair. You bring up a great point about making sure the start is fair. So now the drivers make their way out of 11 and into the right-hander, the little dog leg right there, turn number 12. You can hear the revs start to come up. The officials continuing to remind these drivers they need to keep the foot off the gas. The lights go out, and now we go racing. And when lights go out here at ROK Cup USA, the whole track's fair game. You can go wherever you need to try to make a pass. And we all got through. I saw you tense up there, Chris. Everybody got through the opening 3 corners cleanly.
Flashbacks of rallycross now as we look over into turn number 3.
Right as I say
the 22 and the 31. That's unfortunate here.
Luca Beckrell in the 31 and the 22 of Ethan Torres get together just before the first infield section. So I almost had the sentence, "We made it through cleanly," out of my mouth before I was proven wrong. But through the opening 2 corners, everybody did get off cleanly, and that's the good news. We are off and running here. Lap number 1 set to come to a close. Got to watch guys like Orioli, Gottschalk, and Burgess. Well, not guys, kids like Orioli, Gottschalk, and Burgess have great racing back at the Winter Tour this year. When Gottschalk has taken over the race lead after a hectic run through the opening 2 corners, but he has got Santiago Orioli right on his back bumper.
Yeah, the Benek out front looks pretty promising early. And Tony, so as you see the thing start to kind of bounce around a little bit there about entry and center, maybe a little bit of understeer getting in. What you're seeing now is the fact these tires are still not up.
Yeah.
Right, 450s all the way around on these micros, and they're just still trying to get a little bit of heat in there. And you're going to see a lot of things smooth out over the next probably lap and a half, 2 laps. Again, sub 60 degrees ambient outside track temp. Probably going to be around 78 to 82 right now.
And there's no weight on these carts.
No.
Nothing pushing these tires into the pavement.
No.
They're just needing to literally rotate and build pressure to get temperature.
Yep, as they're scrubbing speed, they're going to build that temperature, and it's going to be fun to watch how this thing opens up. Another 5-ish kart kind of group here. It's kind of split up 2, 2, and 1. As we give a shout out to all of our friends down there at the Dallas Karting Complex. You're right. You're not old. You are veterans, and we appreciate you for that. Here comes a move, though.
Yeah, it's Orioli down to the inside in turn number 4 for the race lead. So move Orioli, and I believe he was able to bring the 25 of Gottschalk. Well, that's who he was battling. Gottschalk takes it right back. Gottschalk's going to try and bring Zane Burgess in that number 55 along for the ride. How about the lap traffic?
Tip of the cap.
Very responsibly getting out of the way and off the racing line. They covered that in race control yesterday, or I'm sorry, the drivers' meeting yesterday. So really good stuff early on here as Gottschalk, Orioli, Burgess, Westbrook, and your pole sitter, Alvarez, try to sort this thing out.
So the biggest thing that happened on that lap, other than was the change for the lead and then a retake of the lead, is that 2, 2, and 1 breakup here
has now become a 5 car.
Is now 1, but that's going to leave the 6th place runner of Freeman, it looks like, kind of out there in no man's land.
Yeah.
Just kind of hanging out. Another move for the lead. Here's Orioli's going to take to the bottom. The 55 of Burgess looking to come through again, and the 33 bouncing around everywhere. That's going to be Westbrook.
Freight train style racing here in the parking lot of the Rio All Suites Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Santiago Orioli has Zane Burgess in the Sodi cart right behind him. And you can see Orioli starting to duck the helmet a little bit. And you're right, it's not the massive long back straightaway that we've been so accustomed to here at the Rio before. But in these small karts, with momentum being key, you got to imagine there's going to be some kind of an effect from the draft, don't you think?
Absolutely. They're going to get a little bit of assistance from the air. Obviously, with their size and the overall how small and lightweight these karts are, every little bit's going to help. But this is going to be a race built on who can make the least amount of mistakes, who can not leave the door open, and most importantly, who can get the exit shot. Exit shot, exit shot. When the track is a mid-track like this, where it's not super small, it's got some length to it, but it's also super tight and technical. It's all about getting off that corner and getting set up for the next one.
Here they come into the right-hander, turn number 9. This will set them onto a very short back straightaway. That red line you see him cross is the delineation line. That's when on the outlap drivers need to be as close to paired up as possible and in formation as they'll come around to see the lights go out at the end of that formation lap. And it's a very short back straightaway, and then a quick run out of turn number 12 onto the front straightaway. Orioli, Burgess, and Gottschalk glued to each other here at the front of Velocity Racing and Sodi USA, ROK Micro. Farther back behind them, 4th and 5th, trying to be sorted out. That's Dutch Westbrook in the 33 and Iker Alvarez. Remember, Alvarez got the job done in time trials yesterday, earning Alvarez the pole position for heat race number 1, Progressive Heats. We'll say it again and again, for all categories that are not split, which again I believe are only VLR Junior and Senior, all heat races with those 2 categories excluded are progressive, where you finish in heat 1s, where you start heat 2, so on and so forth. Quite a pack of carts here up front in ROK Micro, Chris.
So the 25 and win has gone purple last time by with a 50.722, but a big shout out to the 28. Lawrence Preman has sat tight, had smooth hands, and is now patiently caught the back of this lead group, hopefully for an opportunity here to make a run as we get towards the back half of this heat race.
Yeah, Preman's starting to get closer and closer. Battle for the lead right there. That's going to be Zane Burgess down to the inside in turn number 3. Move the Sodi cart driver to the point. Zane Burgess now shows the bumper. I almost said tail tank. The 25 of Win Gottschalk. There's no tail tank on these. Win Gottschalk tries to make something happen, thinks better of it, crosses over, tries the entry into 9, gets it done. New race leader, Gottschalk to the front.
These kids are putting on a show. There's no doubt about that one, Tony. This is incredible to me. Everybody's tires at this point are in. Nobody has a clear advantage in this, and that's what I think makes the micros and the minis so fun. As there's the sticks, 2 to go here.
Man, what great camera work we've got here as we can see these carts scream by, and it's not like we're squinting trying to find out cart numbers on the side here. So it looks like Orioli's going to get challenged for that second position by Iker Alvarez. Alvarez now back up to second, and ever since losing the lead early after starting on the pole position, Alvarez starting to show some teeth here and claw back up towards the front, but they're all chasing that Sodi cart driver of Zane Burgess. Got to watch Burgess do really well back at the Winter Tour earlier this spring. Big move right there for what would be the 4th position. That's Westbrook and Gottschalk dicing it up.
This is incredible. We're going to see 1 to go when they get to the stripe here in about 2 more corners. And I honestly, Tony, don't know what's going to happen as now the top 3 start to break away. About 4 carts separate them.
ROK Cup USA Racing will say the whole seat, you're only going to need the edge. White flag waves here. 1 trip around this 7/10 of a mile inside the parking lot behind the Rio. Fight for the lead, and they're going to catch lap traffic here. Burgess gives way to Alvarez, the pole sitter back in front with less than a lap to go, and they'll split the lap traffic for the lead. Wow.
Well, if
Chris Wheeler is speechless.
If I still had hair on my head, I would have pulled it out. That was incredible.
Man, and they all got around the lap car safely. That looked like the 17 of Francisco. Less than half a lap to go.
Big move here.
Yeah, Burgess trying to go back down to the inside through the back straightaway. This hairpin might be the last really good passing opportunity. Burgess tries to make something happen on Alvarez and will get the spot out of the final corner. Alvarez tries to run the low line, and it looks like there's contact coming to the line. They all keep it pointed in the right direction. Alvarez wins heat race number 1.
I believe that was incredible.
That was incredible.
I'm lost here. So Alvarez pulls off the win. Big moves there on the last lap.
There was contact. They were Tokyo drifting.
They were. You saw the front tires of one of the carts off the ground coming through 12. A little bit of a squeeze play, you might call it. I honestly thought, though, that the 25 was actually going to get there on the bottom side with a great exit shot.
Yeah, with not having all the contact up front. He wasn't involved in that between Alvarez and Westbrook and
Tony,
I think Burgess.
You know what excites me about this the most? It's heat race 1.
I was going to say that we have more to go.
It's only heat race number 1, Tony.
Yeah, it truly is, Chris. It really is only heat race number 1. Yeah, if you haven't taken your heart medication, I advise you to do it now.
I was just about to say, I'm glad I got my nitroglycerin pills in the backpack.
Yeah, that's ROK Cup Racing, folks. We'll say the whole seat, but you're only going to need the edge here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
My goodness.
I also like this trend in the schedule we've got here where we go from the most experienced in life drivers to the least experienced. Now we go back to the most experienced as we are getting ready for ROK Shifter Masters. They are on the grid now, and they'll be making their way out onto the track. Our first gearbox class of the day we're going to get to see here. This will be a lot of fun.
This is going to be pretty cool. You got some names in here that, you know, if you look back in the karting catalogs over the last 20 years, a lot of talent, a lot of big race wins. Travis Irving, for one, Jordan Musser.
Yeah, Musser's great.
Right, Brian Keck. I mean, we look at some of these names that we've seen for a very long time and a lot of experience. A lot of experience.
Jordan Musser gave us, we were able to record an interview with Musser yesterday back in his pit area at the PSL tent, and Jordan's one of the guys that I remember from when I was full-time in karting, and Jordan will start this race in the 4th position here in heat race number 1. And Jordan, we're going to play that interview later in the day, maybe later in the weekend, but Jordan just is so, he's like you. He's got so much knowledge technically, and when it comes to the setup of these karts, he's still racing, but he can speak so well to the different things you got to do to make one of these big, fast, powerful ROK shifters do what he wants it to do to get around this track quickly. Brian Keck will lead him to the, I keep wanting to say green flag, but it's lights out because flags are, not sexy.
Overrated.
Yeah, flags are boring. Lights are cool. They're in right now. Brian Keck will lead the field to lights out when they fire him off here. And he's got Jonathan Vitolo alongside him in the front row. Danilo Ramallo starts 3rd with Jordan Musser, the Texan we were just talking about. They make up row number 2. And then it looks like Travis Irving. Chris Wheeler was just talking about the driver of the 585. Irving will roll off 5th. And then Bud Grossenbacher will start on the outside of row number 3. Ryan Yopp starts 7th. Luis Quinones rolls 8th. Patrick O'Neill, Brian Devert complete the top 10. And then it's going to be Hunter Hagenbuch, I want to say. Hagenbuch in 11th. Sergio Rodriguez, Walker Little, Jose Montalto, and Michael Rivera complete the 15 kart grid here. There's my man Dom showing them 1 to go. And the tuners give these ROK Shifter Masters the bump start to fire them off here. They'll pull in the clutch, drop it into 1st, and get ready to take off here in just a moment. And we got a lot of people watching live on ROK Cup USA YouTube. Don't forget, folks, smash that subscribe button. Is that what we say? We say smash that subscribe button. And yeah, hit that like, smash that subscribe, turn the bell on.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't have any subscribers, and I don't have anything people can subscribe to.
Well, not on YouTube, at least. that other website, you've got some subscribers on.
Right. My cooking channel's flourishing.
Yeah, only pans with Chris Wheeler. You can catch it. And I did say only pans, folks. Only pans. Don't write your state senator just yet.
Yeah, big. Look, if anybody can make a cheeseburger spring roll.
Yeah.
In an air fryer, it's this guy.
Well, we got roller dogs here in hospitality.
I've noticed.
So at lunch.
I've noticed.
You've sampled, I bet, by now. We're getting ready to go here with ROK Shifter Masters. And just rolling along here, Chris said it. The good news is we're only working through round 1 of these heat races. The RPG VLR Junior heat races will be up next. Group A versus B. So many of these drivers signed up, we have to split the field. But first, we've got ROK Shifter Masters. And this will really, kind of tell the tale of this racetrack, I think. You've seen a pair of single-speed karts, heat races, make their way around. But shifters can really highlight some great passing opportunities, some late braking zones. And these guys, they've got 6 gears. They can just bump down, grab a gear, and get going again out of the corner. And that's going to show you the passing opportunities all the way around this track. Look at that view.
Beautiful.
Of the turn 10 hairpin. Blue skies. Temperatures just crested 60. And Shaggy's showing them the red flag.
Ambient starting to go up here. Track temp starting to go up here. Some serious horsepower. About to hit the racetrack here at the Rio All Suites Hotel Casino. Tony, I'm curious what the temperature is up here, though, in our skyboat.
Yeah, I could see my breath for a moment.
Yeah.
I mean, this altitude sickness is getting to me.
I really got to thank ROK and, of course, OTK for the comfortable, warm winter clothing that they were able to outfit us with here. For the altitude that we're at.
And Pride has hooked up officials and executives here, and you can go to the Pride tent on site right by the ramp that drivers and tuners push their cart up to go back into the pit area. Those Pride guys have some really, really cool gear. Shaggy goes visors down. He points to the lights. Brian Keck on the inside. Vitolo on the outside. ROK Shifter Masters. Let's go heat racing here in Las Vegas. Boy, they held the lights there for quite a while, it felt like.
Clutch sale is going to be up here after this.
Yeah, clutch dust galore down on the front straightaway. And right off the bat, it looks like the 534 of Vitolo, the off-pole starter, timed it really, really well, held his water, dropped the hammer, and took off. Oh, contact about third on back. One driver goes spinning and backs it in. It was a Burrell. I know that much. I don't want to speculate and tell you it's the wrong driver. So we're just going to have to wait here until timing and scoring repopulates. I don't know if it was the 516 of Musser. It looked like it was third or fourth, somewhere right around where Musser was starting this thing. So let's just wait for timing and scoring to tell us who is where on the racetrack.
Well, with old age, my vision's gone downhill a little bit here, Tony. So seeing them from all the way up here is going to be a little difficult. Oh, buddy.
No, it was Musser. It was Jordan Musser. He drops from his 4th place starting spot.
To 14th.
14th. That's almost like what, a 10 position drop.
But Michael Riviera, big hard charger here. He gained 3. So did Ryan Yope. Yep, Ryan Yope.
Yeah, Ryan Yope, Ryan Yop, however you want to say it.
I like Yope, so we're going to stick with it. Up 3. Oh, no.
And that's not Jordan Musser. I believe that's another driver out over in turn number 1.
So that was from lap 2 contact. We're going to see momentarily here who that driver is. Beautiful looking helmet on him. I saw that, and that's really about it.
Yeah, good news is you don't have to wait very long here with as fast a laps as these drivers are pulling here. Could that have been Grossenbacher? No, Grossenbacher just down from 3rd to 5th. And
I think it was Riviera.
Oh, man. No, I don't think that was Riviera. Because Riviera's got, I believe, a white and black suit.
It may have been the 521 then.
Of Quinones. I think it was Quinones.
Yeah. Dang it.
Yeah. That is tough here as they've got Musser back on track. Yeah. You just saw him streak across the start-finish line. So he's at least got 2 positions as Quinones and Rivera are out of this one, at least currently. Yeah. They may be able to get refired and take back off here. Let's check in on this battle for the lead. That's Vitolo and pole sitter Brian Keck in the 502. Keck right in the tire tracks. Now he's going to pull out. He's going to say hi, but Vitolo says bye as he stays out in front for another lap.
Yeah, looking to be clear there into turn number 1. Vitolo not going to let it happen. The GFC Hot Rod rolling right now, the 534. But
there's Rivera. We just saw a shot of Rivera up and out of the cart. So his heat race done early here, and that was Quinones. So I was right. I had a 50% chance, I guessed, and I was right. Quinones was the issue we saw over in
So
turn 1.
Watching Musser cross the stripe last time by a 55.7 or 45.7, that's, yeah, there's going to be an issue there too. He could be saving the tires. He could just be cruising.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but leaders last time by where Keck went purple was a 42.9. This time 43.1 to 43.2 for the leaders.
Keck went purple, but he was just bested by Danilo Ramallo. Ramallo, the 3rd place cart, lays down a flyer of 42.887. Keck, 1 position higher, had just ripped off a great lap, 42.9. But Ramallo with a 42.8. Those are your top 2 you see on the monitor right now. But do not be surprised if Ramallo can chop into this gap. I mean, it's a big deficit, no doubt about that. But with the way these top 2 are battling right now, you may see them slow down enough and something happen up at the front. Side by side for the lead here at a turn number 10. The 502 of Keck has taken over. So the pole sitter now back on top as we're near the halfway point of this Shifter Masters Heat 1.
So Tony, a little bit of background and some history here for you in this ROK Shifter Master Group. Running second, Jonathan Vitolo. Tony, what year were you born?
I don't think we need to get into that, do you?
Yeah, it's a serious question.
Yeah, I was born in the...
before or after 94?
I was born before 1994.
So then you were alive when Jonathan's father, Dennis Vitolo, ran the Indianapolis 500 in 1994. Did you know that one?
I didn't know you were so good at Wikipedia either.
Signal's been kind of sketchy high above here.
Yeah, when you're above the clouds.
Yeah, so he ran in 94, a second attempt at Indianapolis in 97.
Okay,
so
who dropped you that nugget?
No, I knew who it was.
Okay.
I was just kind of waiting for the race to clear up, but it's a blast from the past for me because I was a kid in the IndyCar paddock at the time when that went down. I remember it. So super cool, man.
Chris, you're still a kid in the IndyCar paddock.
Yeah, it's because they're all old.
No matter what they say, you're still a kid at heart. Boy, now that Keck has gotten some clean air, he's got a 0.6 of a second advantage over Vitolo. And the front 3 are all kind of spread out. Ramallo, though, continues to rip really good laps here. A 42.6 for Ramallo. Really good lap when you think about, well, it was a really good lap until Keck did that, a 42.5. So Keck, he's not worried about saving his tires.
No, tire saving's not a thing here, so there's definitely, I believe, an issue with Musser. He's still cruising around in 12th, 46-second lap times. Meanwhile, Keck, 42.584.
That's flying.
And so we talked about these things a lot with the karts, and, the chassis setup is the setup, but it's really designed to have the biggest window of drivability throughout the duration of a run, but there's always going to be your peak point, which is going to be when your tires are at their optimum. And you can tell right now it's either Keck has really started to lock in, or those Levanto tires are really starting to come in form with how he set them up.
Deadly.
He is absolutely
deadly,
just cruising.
Deadly consistent, too. A 42.584 on lap 7, a 42.591 on lap 8. So I think you're dead on. I think they set that thing up to come in a little late. That's why you saw him drop right off the start. He was able to go up there and get Vitolo, and now that he's got him, he is leaving him the lead now over 1.3 seconds from Keck back to Vitolo. Romalo getting closer. I'm not sure if there's going to be enough time. Minute and a half to go here before they see 2 laps left, so there's still probably 4 laps of racing still to go in this one.
Yeah, there's at least, right? I mean, we're going to come through turn 11 and turn 12 now with your leader, Brian Keck, with the clock still reading a minute and a half to go. So plenty of racing to the left, and the race for second starting to heat up.
Yeah, Vitolo has Romalo not far behind you. Let's see if we can find that battle for second.
Well, Romalo goes purple again with a 42.5. Oh, we've got lap traffic, and it didn't look like
they were in the safest spot there to stop.
No, that made me a little nervous. It almost looked like they were dead stick there trying to get out of the way. But did that, and there, okay, now we can see your second, third, fourth, and fifth place drivers.
This is the fight for third.
This is chaos.
Yeah, this is Romalo, Travis Irving in the 585. Irving just got around Romalo, I believe. So Irving has found some massive pace here late in the going, a 42.7 last time by for Irving here.
And I will say the micros did a better job in traffic than the master shifters, I can tell you that.
I mean, it's been hair-raising.
You know, to quote my favorite movie of all time, The North Shore, when the wave breaks here, don't be there. That guy was there when it was here, and that's not good.
That's playing probably very well to our audience who can't see you or your hand gestures.
Well,
but I got what you were saying.
That's good.
That helped a lot for me. Thanks very much. There's another look there at Brian Keck. We're going to try to move back and find that battle for second, third, and fourth as Vitolo, Romalo, and Irving are trying to sort things out by themselves. As Keck makes his way out of 10, he's going to click off another lap here. 10 seconds remain. It'll probably be about 6 seconds right there when he gets to the line. The second of 5:34 is Vitolo, and this fight for second, third, and fourth is actually kind of strung out now. It's not as hot and heavy as it was. Yeah,
these guys are spread out like mayonnaise on a sandwich, and there's really not a lot we can do about it now.
I was going to say now I'm hungry, but I hate mayonnaise, so now I'm not hungry.
There's a little bit of communism in everybody, Tony. Don't worry.
Oh, come on. That's if you don't like ketchup. The clock has expired, so they'll see 2 to go when the leaders get back here to the line. Brian Keck, Vitolo, and Romalo, your top 3. Irving, Yop, and Grossenbacher, the top 6. O'Neill, Hagerbuch, Lytle, and Rodriguez, the top 10.
I will say, Tony, in the 10-ish years that it's been since we've had the opportunity, privilege to do this.
Have I gotten worse?
Rolling your R's has gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
I do, and I'll throw it back. There was a master's class years ago at Palm Beach. I'll never forget it. 25-lap feature, 2 speeds, and there was 6 drivers.
You mean the DD2 race?
And I totally, and I've never forgiven myself, Tony. But I
think you just left.
It went green. I got you through the first lap, and then I literally just sat down the mic and walked out of the booth and left you for 24 laps of pure thrilling entertainment.
And I think it was raining.
Yeah, of course.
It was. I do remember that. West Palm Beach, DD2s, seniors and masters on track together.
6 total karts.
Yeah, that got me to where I was ready to handle anything in sprint car racing. White flag waves here for Brian Keck. And this Rock Shifter Master Heat Race number 1 will be done and dusted before too long. But don't worry, we've got plenty of action coming up next with RPG's VLR Junior. That's going to be Group A versus Group B. Those heat races will not be progressive, as I've been told. So Brian Keck just has to make his way around about 4 more corners here, and he's going to be looking pretty.
Yeah, Keck really turned it on there about halfway point, Tony. And that machine came to life, and he's been head down ever since.
Oh, man, no kidding there. Keck's going to head through the final hairpin one last time. And that's really, I think, where you're going to see the big passes as the weekend gets shorter and shorter and we get closer to the last checkered flags of the weekend. Speaking of checkered flags, there it is. Rock Shifter Masters Heat Race number 1 goes to the 5:02 of Brian Keck. Vitolo in second, Romalo third, and Travis Irving with Ryan Yop round out your top 5. You can tell sprint car racing really affected my brain because he just went to crack his visor going down the back straightaway, and I thought he was getting ready to pull a tear off.
Well, it's definitely a thing.
I mean, there's no rules. You could have tear-offs on your karting helmet here at the ROK Cup USA ROK Vegas. What a great way to end the 2024 season. Mike Burrell and his staff at ROK Cup USA, I think, have just put in incredible amounts of work. I mean, obviously that's noticeable when they went out and got a guy like Chris Wheeler to kind of come prop the broadcast up. Burrell obviously making big moves and money moves, as Cardi B would call them. But you got Chuck Yoder, the eye in the sky. You've got Robbie Poupart and bringing in Rick Folks to help in the marshalling room this weekend. It's a star-studded affair, not only on track, but behind the fences here at Las Vegas, Chris.
A lot of salaries here.
A lot of salaries. We're not part of that.
No, we're not.
We're just happy to be here and having fun. There's a good look at that Pride tent just in the upper parking lot right by the corner at the top of the ramp where drivers and tuners push their carts up after coming off track at the scale area. And you can go over there and check those guys out at the Pride tent. And they have some very cool merch, some super cool clothing. Go over there and pick up a few pieces. But if you're shaped like me, maybe go a size or two bigger.
Us. Yeah.
Well, hey, you look trim.
Well.
You look great.
That happens.
Yeah, you look great. Chris Enderlin is down there on the front of the grid with the 872, one of the RPG drivers, Jose Alejandro Halfin. Chris is stoic in nature as he gets ready. Oh, man, he knows we're talking about him. He's like, don't. Oh, come on. Just stop talking about me.
My favorite part about Chris is right now, he's probably second-guessing those tire pressures.
You know what he's not second-guessing is that hair. It looks great.
It's phenomenal. He's got enough for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Enderlin's hair on fleek. No doubt about that. Isaac Malcoot and Jose Alejandro Halfin, the front row here. Diego Ardiles will start third with Dean Peterson on the outside of row number 2. Naomi Garcia rolls off fifth in the 868. Bronson Custis will start on the outside of row number 3 in the 6th position. Salvador Della Vecchia starts 7th, and Edward Kennedy makes up row number 4 on the outside, starting in 8th position. Drew Jensen and Peyton Anderson are your top 10 here in the Rollison Performance Group VLR Junior. This is Group A versus Group B. And they're splitting the class, Chris, just because so many kids showed up. They said, we don't have enough racetrack for all of you.
And I love that, though. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I believe they had just under enough, right? I think it's 40 carts is kind of your on-track limit here at the Rio All-Suite Hotel and Casino. But I believe they made the right decision here within race control to leave these guys grouped up A, B, C, and D, guys and girls. I like the smaller group for the heat races.
I do too.
Right? Because you could have easily lined them up progressive like everybody else and had 40 carts on, but it would have been an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah. Half the field's going to get messed over in turn 1.
Exactly. This gives everybody an opportunity, to really see what they've got. A little bit smaller of a group. Goes back to education. Like when we were in those special classes we went to, the smaller group really helped us.
They called it resource for me.
Yeah.
The resource
similar
classes.
Deal. So. But I'm really excited about this one. It's funny. We've talked about the progression, right? With the Masters, you hold them to a high standard of how they conduct themselves on track and in the pits. Then we went to the micros, and we talked about how some of these kids are thinking about their Game Boy, right? Whatever it may be. The juniors, about 90% responsibility.
Yeah.
There's still some of them with the age group. You're kind of like, okay, I understand it. It's a lesson for you to learn from.
Yep.
But I can tell you here shortly, when we get the seniors on track, there will be no excuses.
Absolutely.
And we shouldn't have any problems.
No, it's going to be very intense racing starting here in junior, but absolutely to your point when we get to whether it's ROK GP Pro, which for those of you not in the know like me back in January, that's just the ROK single speed senior category, ROK GP Junior, VLR Senior, these single speed categories.
So GP 125 cc's.
Yep.
VLR 100.
Yep.
So think about like you're on Mario Kart back home.
Always.
Right? You're going to Starry Road. Do you want the 150s or the 1s or the 50s? Which one were you? You're a big 50 guy, weren't you, Tony?
Yeah, I love that low horsepower, lots of compression.
Big four-stroke guy.
Kind of like
Scott Falcone.
Kind of like a USAC midget. Not a lot of horsepower, but a lot of compression.
Yep.
But to your point, though, in these VLR karts, a couple drivers talked to us yesterday in interviews. Single-speed karting's always been about momentum, right? Well, in 125cc, it's about momentum, but in 100cc, these VLR karts, it's really about keeping your momentum up, and that means being smooth.
Well, and that goes back to the track layout, right? Like we said earlier, there's over the years here at the Rio, we've seen these crazy 1,000, 12, 1,400-foot back straightaways where they become dyno matches. With a high-end product and a quality product that ROK provides all of its customers, we don't need that type of stuff.
No.
And so to build a track that really allows the drivers to
puts
race.
It back into their hands.
Man, it's really cool to see, and I'm really looking forward to this one here. This is ROK VLR Junior A versus B coming your way here Tony, lead us to the lights.
Malkout and Halfin are going to lead us to the lights here, as they are your front row. Nice looking formation here as they come into the tram lanes. Nice and slow, says Ryan Egan. I do think the lights, the lights did go out.
They did go out about 3 seconds after the entire outside lane got out of their tram lanes.
I'll be interested.
Oh boy!
Yeah, that's going to be a track cleanup over there on the exit of turn number 2. Yeah.
Heavy contact, exit of turn number 2. Wait and see what the officials are going to do here, but that was definitely heavy contact. See driver up and out of that cart. That was the 8:15.
Edward Kennedy.
So Kennedy with a big shot here, turn number 2. As you can see, the Tech Pro barriers doing their job, protecting that driver.
That one official with the long hair, his name's Avery, and he dressed up as a banana last night for Halloween.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought people would really appreciate it and probably that would enhance their viewing experience of this VLR Junior Heat 1A versus B. That probably helps you take in this race a little bit better. Malkout started out front, is out front after lap number 1. Diego Ardiles in second, and here's the problem now, Chris, with these fields of ultra-competitive talent all throughout, first back to the 10th row. It's really hard to stay on top of who's passing who right now.
It really is. Luckily for us, top 2 kind of checked out here, about a 15-cart breakaway over the 3rd spot, which is Halfin. But, Tony, they are passing from 3rd to 15th right now every time we take a look. Yeah,
the good news is we'll be able to tell you where they all finish once the checkered flag waves. But until then, we're going to do our best bet to keep up with battles on track and let you know who is where as they come around to complete lap number 2.
Tony, watching this philosophy reminds me a lot when I played Pee Wee football. My dad said, son, you can either hit or be hit. It's the same attitude out now. You can literally
pass or be passed.
Throw one in or get thrown on.
Yeah.
And that's literally what's happening from about 3rd on back right now. But your top 2 absolutely rolling right now. Purple lap, the 8:93, Diego Ardiles. That's going to be a 46.820. And, Tony, I think we're about still a second and a half off of an even quicker time here as these carts start to come to life.
Wow, that'll be exciting to see as the lap times get quicker and quicker. The 8:93 of Ardiles, he's in different colors than the last time I saw him at the Florida Winter Tour when that championship wrapped up at the Orlando Kart Center in Orlando, Florida, back in March, so long ago. We've all changed. I think we've all grown as people since then. Another lap in the books here. Malkout and Ardiles, man, they are way out in front of this field right now, but Ardiles really pushing. Another lap, purple, 46.554, and that's crazy when you think about the driver. He's less than a foot behind on the track, is going a 46.792. It's roughly 0.2 of a second difference in lap times, but catching them's one thing, Chris. Passing them's another.
Absolutely, and right now they've got just about a second and a half gap over 3rd place, which is Halfin, and they don't want to jeopardize that. Right now, if I'm Ardiles, I'm going to sit on the back bumper of Malkout here, and we're just going to push on. As I look at the clock, we still have 5 minutes to go in this before we see the double flags. I'm just cruising. But you can see that whole back sector, the drive off of 10, how it sets you up through 11, and the run through 12, and that allows Malkout a little bit better exit shot there, and now Malkout's going to go purple, 46.4.
Yeah, that good exit shot complemented by a really smooth lap all the way around on the 4th trip around this 0.7 of a mile circuit. That allows Malkout to go purple, and it doesn't look like it to the naked eye, but that does give him a little bit of breathing room over Diego Ardiles. Now that gap almost a full cart length, whereas before it was less than half a cart length.
And this is the thing, right? So Ardiles can sit here now. He's got a cart gap out the front of him. He can kind of play the game a little bit. It's probably a little bit easier to sit there in traffic and have a small gap, but he's got to be careful. If he lets Isaac Malkout get away from him here, it's going to be hard to get back to.
Let's take a look here as that's your top 5. Here goes Ardiles, pops out to the inside in turn 1, and Ardiles timed that well. Ardiles makes Isaac Malkout smell exhaust for the first time in this heat race for the RPG VLR Juniors. Man, Ardiles, I didn't know if he had that kind of speed out of the final corner. It's so hard to tell when they come at you head on like that, but clearly he had something wound up.
Well, Tony, if you think that's his good speed, then I need you to look at the 872 of Halfin right now, who just went purple all alone.
46.3.
There's no air. There's no help. He's got 2 rabbits out in front. He is head down on that Rollison performance machine, and he is just grooving with it right now, running it down. The gap at one point was 1.56 seconds. Last time by 1.3 when he went purple. Let's see what it is right here for Halfin in the 3rd spot, continuing to close down. 1.0, and he's gone 46.383, backs up his purple, but 46.380. And don't look now, folks, but the 872 is in third and reeling them in.
Yeah, chopping wood. Jose Alejandro Halfin is the driver in third we're talking about right now. Malkout made a little bit of front to rear contact. Nothing malicious, no harm, no foul. But Malkout did get into the rear bumper of Ardiles going down this back straightaway 1 lap ago. They both take the double look over their right shoulder. It's got to be wild to look behind you and see the guy right behind you looking behind him.
Yeah. Well, welcome to Vegas, where everything is optics.
Wow. Did we just cut a commercial? But Chris, also as a driver coach, you probably spent your fair share of time working with young drivers, reminding them not to look over their shoulder and worry about what's behind them.
Everything's in front of you. 46.257. Halfin continues. 0.777. We're rolling sevens here for the driver in the 872. Beautiful drive here, coming as the third place driver, starting to catch him. But Tony, back to what you said on lap number 3, catching him's one thing, passing him another. Will Halfin have anything left on this RPG machine when he gets there?
Artie Carpenter taught me that catching him is one thing, passing him is another. I love it right there. I think we just saw Ardiles go for that quick helmet tap, and I love that because that's always what the driver in the lead does right after he's taken the lead.
Hey, man, give me a push.
Yeah, now I'm around you.
Hey, thanks, bro.
Let's work together.
Yeah.
I wasn't that interested in it before, but now I think it'd be a great idea.
Back when I thought Screw the Dealer was just a card game. Even faster here for Halfin, 46.250. Oh, boy.
Yeah, Halfin is all but there, right? He can now absolutely see, he can smell the exhaust of these 2 leaders in front of him.
So here's the important part now if you're Halfin. You've had clean air. You've had your racetrack. You can run your line. You've been running your race.
Yep.
And you've done a great job of catching the leaders. Now you've got to remember that you're racing with other people. You're going to be sharing that space here in about 2 corners, and you can't overdrive it.
No.
You need to stick to your fundamentals, stick to what's gotten you to this point, and execute opportunities. And there will be plenty of opportunities remaining as we still have just at 1 minute
at the line. Man, and I think another thing you said earlier, it's Vegas. Everything's optics, right? Halfin has to make sure he does not let the optics of the 2 carts in front of him slow him down and change where he gets on the brakes and where he gets on the gas.
And a tip of the cap to the 860 here, Salvador Vecchia, 46.142. We have a new purple lap, but the gap back there, 2.5 seconds off the leader. Not sure it's going to make much of a difference here, as we should be about 3 to go when the leaders hit the stripe this time.
Yeah, I think so. Great tight look right there at the top 3. Halfin now trying to not just catch him, but pick his spot. Halfin takes a quick look over the right shoulder, makes sure he has no company behind him here. And this is the race for the lead in Group A versus B, heat number 1 for the RPG VLR Juniors. The clock is going to expire after this lap. Here we go, race for the lead. Malkout pulls out to the inside, and he's going to bring Halfin with him. It's a 2-cart swing at the front. Halfin now cracks the top 3.
So Halfin now into second. Now Coot is going to be your leader. And that last lap off of turn 10, it looked like Ardiles was starting to get a bit aggressive. A little bit out of control. Cart starting to slide around a little bit. So this is going to be a good opportunity here for Ardiles to lock it back in on the back bumper here of Halfin, as we should be.
Clock has expired.
So it should be 2 to go when we get there.
Yeah, it shows 3L up in the top right corner, so that means we should be seeing Shaggy, our chief starter out of the state of New York, show him 2 to go here at the line. Nice shot as they come across the start-finish line, and indeed,
boom!
Here comes the fight for the lead. Halfin down to the inside in 1 with help from Ardiles. Halfin went from stalking him, catching him, now passing him. He leads with 2 to go.
Big defensive move there into turn number 3 for Halfin. Ardiles all over the back of him like white on rice. And now Malkout gets to play the game.
Man, Ardiles is in the hot seat literally right now, right? Because he wants to be aggressive, go after Halfin up in the front, right in front of him. But if Ardiles is not careful, he's got pole setter Isaac Malkout ready to pounce in the 3rd position and take over 2nd.
I got to love it right there. Halfin takes the look to the bottom. Oh, boom. Ardiles going to shove it in. Here comes Malkout now. 2 wide through 11, single file back through 12, and Ardiles back to the lead. White flag in the air, Tony. hold on to your britches.
Yeah, it's not over yet, not by a mile. Ardiles comes way down to the inside, and that's going to kill his exit shot. That allows Halfin to square up and tee off on that back bumper. Ardiles is living on the low lane on corner entry, and now this 3-cart battle has turned into a 5-cart train. Halfin and Ardiles side by side as they come into the infield.
Malkout, though, doing a great job staying grounded on the bottom as Ardiles gets pretty aggressive there. Exit trying to finish off the corner, side by side. Now the big brake check. That's not going to really help you, my friend.
Della Vecchia and Dean Peterson have caught up to this pack. It's a 6-cart train as they come down the back straightaway for the final time. The 893 of Ardiles, and look at them kicking up the dust like a Luke Bryan song as they go down the back straightaway.
Through 11 and 12, Ardiles, Malkout 1 and 2. A little argy-bargy here on the last lap. And that's going to do it right there.
Ardiles holds them off.
Oh, Halfin all the way back to 6th in that group.
Man, and after all the hard work he did to reel in those leaders, what a crazy last lap.
Tony, this is only 50% of our VLR junior field. We've got another heat race with C versus D, and when it all comes to show at the end of the weekend, we're going to have them all on track together. And boy, oh boy, is this beautiful announcer suite high above the Rio All Suite Hotel and Casino going to be shaken when that happens.
Yeah, if you have a weak constitution, folks, I suggest you look away when the RPG VLR juniors take to the track, because that last lap could shake anybody to their core. That will do it for RPG VLR heat race number 1. That was A versus B. Diego Ardiles gets the job done over Isaac Malkout. Salvador Del Vecchia jumps up to 3rd there at the very end. Dean Peterson and Naomi Garcia, your top 5. Jose Alejandro Halfin. That's going to be the tough luck of the race, I think, right there. Halfin did such a good job climbing up to lead that race there outside of 2 to go. But Halfin ends up in the 6th position. Matt Cagle was 7th. Peyton Mary Jane working with Aaron Nelliton over at RPG. Peyton Mary Jane comes home in 8th. Peyton Anderson in 9th. And Drew Jensen, the top 10 in the first of 2 heat races for ROK VLR Junior. Good stuff there as C versus D in ROK VLR Junior is getting ready to take to the track next. You see those drivers sitting on the grid in staging, getting ready to roll out next. They will have a similar 8-minute plus 2-lap heat race. And folks, if you don't believe that racing was intense, I can just tell you Chris Wheeler's had to step out of the booth. It was so exciting. He's catching a little bit of air, and he's just kind of rechecking in with the real world, because that was entertaining. Let's get ready and introduce you to the starting lineup here for Group C versus D in ROK VLR Junior Heat Race number 1, brought to you by RPG. Sebastian Garzone in the 850, one of the Orsalon racing drivers. You see him down on the very bottom left-hand side of your screen. That is the driver on the pole position. Eric Doan in the 843 is the driver across the alley from him. The 843 will roll off in 2nd. Turner Brown starts in the 3rd position with Hador Ferris in 4th. Gavin McCune in 5th. Johnny Stamps rolls off in 6th position. Maverick McKenna starts 7th. That is a cool name. Maverick McKenna. I am a fan of that driver's name. Maverick starts in the 7th position. Camilla Nito starts in 8th with David Ybarra in 9th. Alexander Vanchev rolling off in 10th. Juan Paramo starts 11th with Nathan Dupuis in the 12th position. Declan Dionerine, I think I'm finally getting that name down correctly. Declan Dionerine starts in the 13th position. Luca Papascu in 14th. Keegan Ellsworth, Julian Sanchez, Jordan Martin, and Mateus Gonzalez round out the 18-cart field here in the RPG VLR Junior Heat number 1. This is Group C versus D. So carts are released from the grid here, and Garzone and Doan will lead them around here. Very quick formation lap. 3/4 of a mile make up the track here. in the back parking lot of the Rio All Suites Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. I'm staying in the Ipanema Towers. I once called those the Empanada Towers. That is the incorrect description. The Ipanema Towers are the smaller set of the hotel towers, the shorter set, I should say. And then you've got the 86, I think it's 86 stories, that main tower that overlook the Las Vegas Strip here on the other side of the highway. There's also a train that rolls up and down right next to our back straightaway. That's pretty cool. If you're a big train guy, hey, we got it all for you here at the Rio when ROK Cup USA rolls into town. Garzone and Doan are the front row here. That's a look at them coming out of 11 and then through the dog leg in turn number 12. Look at the bright green gloves on Eric Doan, the driver, on the outside. Sebastian Garzone on the inside. Lights go out, we're racing. This is Group C versus D in RPG VLR Junior Heat Race number 1. Out of turn number 2, we hold our breath. Everybody seems to have made it through cleanly. Into the right-handed hairpin, turn number 3, and into the infield. We go for the first time in C versus D VLR Junior Heat Race number 1 action. Great stuff we just watched in Heat 1 of A versus B. And throughout these 3 heat races, A will race B. We just saw that. Then A will race C. Then A will race D. Side-by-side action for the second position. Drivers swapping spots. The bright green gloves of Eric Doan. Those are hard to miss anywhere out on the track. Doan back into second, it looks like, after possibly getting snookered there on the start. They all fan out from turn 11 quickly through turn 12. Lap 1 is in the books. Let's tell you how they run here. Garzone is your leader. Eric Doan in second. That looks like Gavin McCune in the third position. McCune's going to get a challenge, though, from 4th place Turner Brown in the 836, trying to make moves, not fake moves here. Back into the infield, working lap number 2. Garzone, talked about him a lot during the ROK Cup USA Florida Winter Tour earlier this spring, and no surprise, the Orsalon Racing driver ended the Winter Tour out in front here in the single-speed junior categories, starts the finale, the end of the season event here in Las Vegas, back up in the front position. Lap number 2 coming to a close. And very quickly, I think we're going to have a similar situation as what we saw in A versus B, and that's going to be drivers second, third, fourth, maybe even farther back than 5th, able to get into some clean air, work really, really hard, put down some good laps. Look at that side-by-side racing between the 836 of Turner Brown and Eric Doan. Turner Brown goes way down low and gets the second spot. Eric Doan isn't just going to give it up, though, and they've also allowed the 803 of Heitor Farias to get into the middle of all this. Man, this is good stuff right here. Farias is going to sneak into third right there. Eric Doan, you can always find Eric out on track with those bright, bright green gloves. Doan sliding and slipping there for trying to find out who's going to run third, who's going to run fourth in this one, because Sebastian Garzone driving away early on in this one.
Tony Laporta, that number 850 is absolutely out there. 1.4 seconds at the stripe, but Turner Brown goes purple. 46.832. 46.832 for Turner Brown.
Johnny Stamps in the 851, that might just be one of the coolest names. We got a couple cool names in this one.
I saw that.
Johnny Stamps in the 851, Maverick McKenna in the 887.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, these are not only some talented young drivers, they've got some names that you're going to remember. Battles for position abound throughout the top 10 here as they unwind the steering wheel out of that last hairpin. That's a GoPro shot showing you turn number 10 at the end of the back straightaway. And Chris, when you see these drivers working together early on in a race like this, it's heartwarming almost, but you know, and it's kind of like the teapot is starting to simmer. Things are going to begin to boil before too long.
Well, the heat just got turned up here by the 843 of Eric Doan with a 46.392 gone purple now. The gap closed in about 10th and a half last time by as Brown and Doan trying to link up here and run down Garzone. I'm not sure if they're going to have time or not. Let's see here. The clock says just about 4 minutes and 15 seconds remaining.
Oh, yeah, I think that's plenty of time to get the old rod and reel out and set the hook in Sebastian Garzone. He's the driver way out in front there. They go second and third through turn number 12.
Look at the visual difference now.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. half a second faster here. Turner, Brown, Doan, and now Vanchev trying to join that group here.
Yeah, and Vanchev, you call out Alexander Vanchev, he's very quickly going to tag the tail here of this 2-cart pack, making it a 3-cart train, and that's going to have an effect. They're going to have 3 carts worth of momentum, 3 carts worth of speed, all working together if these drivers keep their wits about them, and that's definitely going to benefit those 3 as they try to chase down Sebastian Garzon. Doan, quickest cart on the track, with a 46.267 last time by. They're trying to reel in race leader Sebastian Garzon out in front.
A big shout out to the 801 of Alexander Vanchev. Started in the 9th position, got through cleanly, picked off some spots, now in 4th. I actually talked to Alexander yesterday right after qualifying. A little disappointed, said he caught the barrier with the rear end, didn't get the lap he wanted, was really quick in practice. So really good to see Alexander break through here in C versus D, and starting to run down the top 3 here. This one might get a little more interesting before it doesn't.
0.8 of a second was the gap from Garzon, your leader, back to 2nd place, Turner Brown. Last time by, that shrunk to 0.5 of a second with some change, and you can see they are all but there, as Sebastian Garzon knows that 2 or 3 carts hooked up together have done a very good job at reeling him in. It was over a second, 0.8 of a second, now 0.5 of a second. We'll see what the gap is from 1st to 2nd. At the line, P1 to P2 were separated by 0.5. They're not going to be separated at all as Turner Brown dives to the inside. Turner Brown takes over the race lead.
Beautiful move there, but here comes a little bit of throwback at it.
Yeah, that's going to be the original 2nd place starter, Eric Doan. Well, he was in 2nd there for a moment. He's dropped back to 3rd as Vanchev now makes this a 4-cart train racing for the lead. Turner Brown not wasting any time aboard that 836. Oh, contact a little bit farther back. Doan gets the right side Levanto tires up in the air. Thankfully, he's able to keep it pointed in the right direction and going after contact with, I believe that was Alexander Vanchev coming down the back straightaway.
Yeah, so the race that was 4 carts now back to a 2-cart battle, but 5th and 6th now have a bit of an opportunity. Vanchev going to show 3rd, Doan 4th, Farias and Barra hanging out back there in 4th or 5th and 6th now, starting to close the gap up. Tony, this one's still not over, though.
No, it's not. Minute and a half to go, just under a minute and a half. They'll see a couple laps left in this one. And, yeah, unfortunately, that contact between Vanchev and Doan splits up what was a 4-cart train. Did you see that great shot right there of Garzon as he went through that right-hander, or the left-hander, rather, sorry, the left-hander turn number 8? You could see that inside rear wheel lift and hike up so aggressively.
Yeah, watching Brown and Garzon go through that was a beautiful look at both inside rears picking up. Carts absolutely working beautifully here. As we look at the clock, the clock says just under 1 minute remaining. So they should get 2 to go when they get to this. Actually, no. I don't think so.
They'll kill this lap before
I think
they
they're
see
going
the
to
clock
cross this one before the clock runs out.
Yeah, it feels like you're at an IMSA race when you're constantly guessing the clock.
Or Supercross.
Supercross, too, yeah, absolutely. As the Supercross riders go for an allotted amount of time plus 1 lap. Or is it plus 2?
I don't
Supercross.
know.
We need to step our Supercross knowledge up.
Sorry.
Maybe next year ROK Cup USA can have Supercross as a sister event. That would be pretty exciting. Turner Brown doing a good job at keeping Garzon right behind him. Brown's the quickest cart on the track back on lap 7. He ripped off a 46.131, and he has stayed close. Here we go now, a little bit farther back. Eric Doan, Alexander Vanchev trying to sort things out for that 3rd position. This is what's so tough. You have two cart battles, a pair of 2-cart battles.
Yeah.
You don't know who to watch because they're both ready to make a move at any time.
Well, Doan went purple that lap, running down Vanchev with a 46.022 and was half a second faster.
And he got that 3rd spot.
Did get the 3rd spot.
Yeah, it doesn't show it on timing, but we just saw him clip by coming into the infield, and Eric Doan has gotten back around Alexander Vanchev for the 3rd position, and they will see 2 to go when the leaders come back this time by. There you see him unwind the steering wheel out of the right-handed hairpin, turn number 10. Doan trying to pull away as quickly as he can from Alexander Vanchev, but at this point, he doesn't have enough time to really do anything, as you see the separation from 1st and 2nd all the way back to 3rd.
Yeah, not a lot of time remaining here for that battle for 3rd to heat up, but how about the battle for the lead? Garzon with a big move here to the bottom of Brown. Brown going to cross back right side. Now they're going to head off into turn number 4. Brown setting up outside, over, under, coming back left. But the advantage is going to stay here with Garzon. just with how the track layout is.
He took a look there. We're starting to get jiggy with it here in VLR Junior C versus D, heat race number 1. This is the last really good passing opportunity, Chris, coming into this hairpin.
Big setup, little bit of kicker left, big braking zone right, nothing looking. Now we're going to head back through 11 and 12. Uno Lapo, as my voiceover says on iRacing from time to time, Tony. One more remaining here in C versus D for the RPG VLR Junior.
Yeah, that's right. If you're watching this and you think you're taking part in an iRacing event, that is the dulcet tones of the Chris Wheeler. You can find him on Instagram. And I think I was mistaken. I thought we were coming to the checkered flag last time by.
No, sir.
This is the white flag lap now.
But here comes Doan. Are we going to double down in Vegas here for the heat race number 1 action? Doan not happy. Fastest kart on track in this race. Had some contact. Big crossover, 3 wide for the lead.
Wow, look at this. Are we at Daytona or the Rio All Suites Hotel and Casino? Doan goes from 3rd to 1st, not even in a corner. Give it to him on the back straightaway. Out of 11, into 12. Doan makes a liar out of me. He gets back to the front. Eric Doan wins heat race number 1 here in VLR Junior.
What a drive here from Eric Doan.
I said he couldn't do it. I thought the gap was way too far with 2 to go.
Tony.
I said he's not going to get there. And guess what?
Can you go out there and apologize to this kid?
Yeah, I'm going to be going out there to find the driver of the 843, Eric Doan, and issue him a legitimate apology, because I straight up said I don't think – I probably didn't even say I don't think. I said he can't make it, and he proved me wrong.
He did.
Great stuff, though. I'll be wrong every time if you get to see racing like that. So that will do it for RPG VLR Junior. We saw A and B, and then we just saw C and D. These drivers will race against each other throughout all 3 of our heat races today. A just race B, you'll see him race C, and you'll see him race D to tabulate the starting grid for Sunday's main events later on.
So for those of you at home that thought Real Housewives of Salt Lake City was where all the tea and the drama was, we're only in our first round of heat races here in Vegas.
Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Don't you mean Mom Talk or whatever that show is called?
Dude, I don't even have cable.
Yeah. Oh, boy, don't turn on the YouTube broadcast and have your audio up.
I just heard you again in my ear. That's great. I love that for you.
That's not good.
You're already haunting me.
Gary Osterholt. Wow, Tony and Wheeler, blast from the past. Gary, this is a blast from the past.
Gary's a blast from the past.
That was good racing there. We're getting ready to move on here to ROK Mini. You see those drivers sitting on the starting grid now, and we're moving through this so quickly. I love the way that ROK Cup does their schedule, really breaks up the days, breaks up the weekends. We're into ROK Mini on track next for heat race action. After this, we'll only have GP Senior Pro, Shifter Pro, GP Junior, and then a pair of heats for VLR Senior, which, due to the high entry count, they have decided to split VLR Senior into a and B and a C and D, which we just saw in VLR Junior. And then, after that, it'll be my favorite class of the day, lunch.
It is. It is still my favorite time of the day as well, Tony. And I just checked on it. The mozzarella sticks looked really good in our VIP hospitality tent.
Man, wow. Well, we're going to have to start that hike down from this broadcast tower a little early if we want to beat the rest of the officials to lunch.
I'm just glad they got us these binoculars so we could see the food that we can't actually access yet.
Yeah, well, we'll be able to access it. We're just going to have to parachute down. But I'm ready for it when that time comes. But we're not going anywhere yet.
No.
Because we still got more racing to go.
What's next?
ROK Mini is on the grid, and you saw how exciting Micro was. Well, we're going to bump him up just a few years in age and a little bit of a faster kart, and this will be the ROK Mini category rolling out next. Valentino Santillan getting the pole in qualifying thanks to a lap of 49.569. Jackson Craveno was second quick with a 49.686. Then it's Troy Ferguson and Luis Martinez in row 2. Marco Samut will start fourth with Miguel Manzano Suarez in the 6th position. Nico Orbezo starts 7th with Carson Hodge in 8th. Braden Wagner and Riker Magro round out the top 10. John McClellan will roll off 11th. Grayson Walcott in 12th. Salomon Paragua 13th. Lorenzo Varela 14th. Nico Katowski and Wes Witt are the top 16 here in ROK Mini Vegas Heat Race number 1. And making sure we get the track cleaned up and we stay on schedule here best we can. Drivers getting ready to rollout here as we're cracking the halfway point in heat race action here in the morning portion of day one of racing action at the ROK Vegas. This is the season finale for ROK Cup USA Racing in North America in 2024. Chris, what's the game of choice for a karter who's in town for the weekend competing with ROK Vegas and ROK Cup USA? What's the game in the casino that they've really got a good chance at making some money at here this weekend?
Well, unfortunately, they don't have things like guess the tire pressures or
right. Guess that kid's axle stiffness.
Yeah, like how well can you eyeball somebody else's, camber caster pills.
Right.
Otherwise, these guys will make tons of money.
Those games are out here on track right now.
They are. I mean, you watch some of these mechanics that have been doing it long enough, you wonder why they're always hunchback. Well, it's because they're always looking at everybody else's stuff, wonder why it's better.
Not you, though. You were able to keep it a straight back.
Straight.
You walk with great posture still today.
Great.
But that's because, you've found other avenues for your intelligence.
Yeah.
And karting isn't your main game
because
anymore.
I quit picking up go-karts at the scales.
Boy, the D-Orlando boys sure are grateful to you, though, for it, I'm sure.
Sure. Every time I see them, they are. Blackjack guy.
Yeah, it's simple.
It is. I can usually do the math on my fingers.
Right.
It's not too hard. But no, it's, I've actually avoided the casino so far.
Well, no matter how much money you might lose at the blackjack table, you won't lose as much if you were to pay for your drinks versus the ones you get complimentary while sitting there at the tables.
No, I heard a couple people talk about how they're at the craps table until about 2 o'clock this morning.
I heard that story also.
And I said, well, how'd you end up? And they said, well, I won a couple bucks. But the most important part is I drank free for 7 hours.
Yeah, exactly. I heard that individual's story as well. When I heard 6 hours at the tables, I thought, man, you're here already? That's impressive.
Yeah.
So Valentino Santillan and Cravano, I'm probably just absolutely butchering that, and I apologize. Jackson Cravano in the 149. This is the pace we want to see. In fact, they could probably pick it up maybe even a little bit.
Man, these little carburetors starting to load up pretty heavy here.
So the field will make their way. That's corner number 12. They streak right underneath the camera tower here on the front straightaway. I believe that's Ryan Egan putting them into position here in the tram lanes, and nice and slow, side by side. And you're definitely going to see the lights go off, but you're going to see quite a few starting lane violations, I imagine, from race control when this one goes checkered. Drivers popped out quite early.
That looked like Ray Charles in a bounce house.
Okay, all right. Here we go. We're off and running now. We'll see who leads them out of the infield for the first time by the 100 of Valentino Santillan.
I made Tony speechless on day one.
No, not speechless, just sidetracked. As into the infield and out of the infield, they'll go here. The ROK Mini drivers, this is heat race number 1, and they build speed down the back straightaway. And I imagine just like in Microcross, you're going to see a little bit of time still needed for tire temperatures and pressures to build up to the appropriate level here in the Mini category.
Yeah, it's going to take a lap, 2 laps here, to get pressures up, and you're going to see these things kind of slide and hucklebuck just a little bit. But once they start to kind of come into form, you're going to be able to see who's going to be able to make the decisions and who's going to be able to put the race car where they want it to be.
So Santillan, your pole sitter, got a clean start there, but it is the tightest pack of karts right off the initial lights out that we have seen so far. That's going to be a move for 4th to 3rd as Jackson Cravano gets around Luis Martinez in that 149. So move your off pole starter back up a little bit closer to where he started. Jackson goes 4th to 3rd now, and Troy Ferguson is stuck right behind the back bumper of pole sitter and now race leader Valentino Santillan. Good snipe shot right there as they come out of the hairpin. Couple karts farther on back, ran a little wide. I don't know if that was Cravano or not, but lap 2 is in the books here, and Santillan tells Ferguson, hey, let's work together.
So what we're seeing now, Tony, is everybody kind of being mindful of each other. Very, very cutesy, very demure.
Yeah, very mindful, very demure.
As they sit here, and the key for your 2 leaders out front now, Santillan and Ferguson, is stay in line. Stay in line and drive away. If they can do it, it's going to be really difficult for that group with Martinez on back to be able to close in that gap. But the minute they get racing, the minute they start throwing sliders on each other is when everybody's going to get pulled back together, and then you literally have no idea what's going to happen.
Miguel Manzano Suarez in that 126 has picked up a position as well. Scored 5th on your monitors right now. He's going to bump up to 4th, I believe, when you see the alpha timing reset here at the line. The 126 of Manzano Suarez is behind the 177 of Luis Martinez. They are the next closest carts to this 2-cart battle. And I don't know, it's like you just said, I don't know if it's really fair to call that a battle right now, because those 2 leaders are very obviously working on just trying to separate themselves from the rest of the field.
They are, but they're going to have their work cut out for them, because Luis Martinez in 3rd just went purple at a 49.726. Not a big difference to the leaders, but purple nonetheless. And now it looks like Martinez and Suarez have kind of broken out in their own group. It's now going from 2 groups of 2. We're really a couple corners away here from having one group of 4. Nope, check that. Martinez said, hey, man, let's be patient. Out the back of his helmet, tapped to Suarez. Suarez said, cool, move over.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to work together behind me.
Not sure they're speaking the same language here, Tony, on the helmet taps. Nonetheless, Suarez does go purple, 49.5, and that's quite a bit quicker than the rest of the field.
Look at that artistic transition we just had, going from one camera to the next. It was like a fade. Felt like I was dreaming. That's kind of how I feel like I live when I'm here at the ROK Vegas event.
I used to get a fade with my haircut when I had hair, Tony.
They faded it too much the last time.
They did. They unfaded it, gone.
Yeah, faded, disappeared. Here we go. Santillan now is definitely the leader of a 4, almost 6-cart train here as he looks over the right shoulder. And, you know, when I watched practice yesterday, you stand here on the front straightaway and you only see him streak down. You don't realize there's that little bit of a dog leg, kind of a kink right there down the back straightaway. And I don't think it's necessarily causing guys to get out of the throttle or slow down, but it gives them that chance to break the draft, to set something up. I really like the back section of this racetrack here this weekend.
Tony, the tension starting to pick up on track here now as it's looking like the top 6 carts now kind of in line, and Orbizo is in the 6th spot, and the number 158 has just gone purple. The tires are starting to come in, right? You can see that the carts are starting to handle a little bit better. Drivers are starting to get back to hitting their marks every single lap, and this one's going to get good.
Well, you said it about the ROK Micros, right? It's at that age and at this age, it's really, truly about just getting comfortable. And I think you can see a difference in driver comfortability from lap 1 to lap 10.
Absolutely.
Because the kids, even in just that short span of time, get back into muscle memory and they realize, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. I know this is what my coach was telling me, and this is what the cart's supposed to feel like. And lap 1, they're trying to sort themselves out. They're probably in a big, tight pack. They just saw the lights go out. They're battling. But now here, what are we working? That was the end of lap number 5, or lap number 6, rather. You see some really competitive driving. Here's a good look at the fight for 3rd position on track. Marco Samut in the 175, Luis Martinez, Nico Orbezo. Great pickup there by our director and camera guys to move back from the battle for the lead here to 3rd, 4th, and 5th as they exit the infield here with just a few laps to go.
Top 2 doing a good job holding them off still, Tony. There for about a lap and a half. I thought that the window was gone and the action was going to pick up, but they've done a great job with Santillan and Suarez now out front, your 1 and 2, a couple drivers off track inside the barriers. That is unfortunate, especially with this progressive heat race, but they're going to have a lot of fun later on.
Yeah, coming back through the field, at least you hope that's what you see. Marco Samut, Luis Martinez, and Nico Orbezo. Behind them, Carson Hodge and Craveno. Man, Jackson Craveno just not having the race that he was hoping for at all, as I think we just saw Craveno make a move possibly right there to get a little bit closer back up. No, I think that
was Martinez.
Yeah, I think that was Martinez we might have seen. Craveno slipping from 2nd, the off-pole starter, currently scored now in the 7th position, try to hold on and stay inside the top 10 here late in heat race number 1.
Got another driver off, drivers left there between 9 and 10. That's unfortunate for them as we look to the clock here. I can't read it because it's so small.
They should be coming to 2 laps to go
there
this time by 3L. Lets them know 3 laps now, 2 laps left. And so when does Suarez, the driver in 2nd, when does Suarez get aggressive here and try to make something happen?
I think Suarez does it on the final lap. He's going to do it either into 1, 3, or 10.
Okay, yeah, because, I mean, those are all great passing opportunities. 10 is definitely the most blatant. But I just wonder in these minis, I don't know if they have the speed really built up to make a big dive bomb move in 10.
I almost feel like 10, though, is the spot to do it because of how the corners of 11 and 12 lay out. It really deletes any opportunity for a comeback.
Yeah, absolutely. So they make their way down the back straightaway. This will be the penultimate trip into that final hairpin right there. Penultimate, that's French for second to last. That always happens when I start to break down French. I get choked up. White flag in the air. And this is it. Suarez's gap, less than a tenth of a second to race leader Valentino Santillan. Santillan's getting a little defensive, and I think Suarez is trying to let the officials know about it by putting his hands up in the air.
There's a local yellow there in 3 that time.
Yeah, yellow flags waving. They make their way through the infield section here for the final time. And how much does Santillan cheat his entry into the corner, because you know that's only going to hurt his exit. As here we go, side by side. Suarez still trying to find an opportunity. 10, Chris, you called it out. This could be it.
I mean, Santillan's looking one way, but Suarez trying to pass him the other. That could have gotten bad there, but it looks like Santillan's going to hold on to this thing, and these guys are going to check out to almost a 2-second advantage at the line.
Yep, Valentino Santillan holds off a late race charge by Miguel Manzano Suarez. There you see the top 2 right there, and they're still as close as they were. Not sure if they know it's the cool-down lap, but they stay tight to each other. Good racing there to conclude ROK Mini Heat Race number 1. Santillan scores the victory after starting this race in the pole position. Manzano Suarez ends up in second after coming from 6th on the starting grid. Really, really good run right there for the driver, though, on 26. Samut was 3rd, Martinez 4th. Caravano ends up clawing his way back up to 5th after being as low as 7th despite starting 2nd. Orbezo 6th, Hodge 7th, Magro 8th, Wagner, and Walcott, the top 10 at the end of heat race number 1.
329 enthusiastic people just got to hear you call that race, Tony.
Wow, 329. That's a lot of people. That's more friends than I have on Facebook.
We know.
I mean, okay, I didn't need you to highlight that, but I guess I kind of highlighted it myself, didn't I?
What's next, Tony?
What is next is the Speed Lab Racing Engines ROK GP Pro. This is the ROK GP single speed category. These are the senior aged drivers, and they will be led to the green flag, or the lights out, by Blake Nash, who got the pole position late in time trials yesterday. We got to shoot an interview with him. We're going to show you that a little bit later on. Nash in the 314 spent his summer racing over in Europe. And, man, the difference in what we saw from him at the Florida Winter Tour to now here in Vegas, you can tell, obviously, it's no secret, the competition over in Europe is just incredible, and it really did wonders for Blake Nash on his racecraft. Great speed in qualifying for sure. He'll lead the field to the green flag. Frankie Mossman was the driver who held the top spot in qualifying until the very end of there. The driver of the 301 will roll off in second. Kai Hunter and Stephen Miller make up row number 2. Oliver Marak starts 5th with Santiago Fernandez rounding out row number 3 in the 6th position. Chase Hand in 7th. Haven't had a chance to bump into Joey yet, but the 327 will roll off 7th with Buck, parentheses Brett, end parentheses Rivetta in the 8th. We're not going to work the parentheses in during the race call. That'll really kind of kill the momentum. Gavin Wardell, Max Saga, Craig Vasquez, and Laurent Legault make up the 12-cart field here in Speed Lab Racing Engines ROK GP Pro Vegas Heat Race number 1.
Tony, I think this one's going to be a barn burner. You got 12 carts on track here. It's not something that you would normally think is going to really set your hair on fire.
We don't have any.
That's a good point. But in this case, Tony, I really think that we're going to see there's a lot of talent in this field here. You talked about the gains that Blake Nash has made throughout the season. Had a great conversation with Frankie Mossman last night. He's fresh off his second day in an Indy Next car. We talked a lot about that stuff. I'm a big fan of Chase Hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the kid is absolutely – like his dad's made a very successful career driving race cars, and Chase is actually more talented.
Oh, man. I better hope Joey's not watching right now.
He's actually nervous right here on the grid that he just messed up his tire pressures. I told him yesterday when they qualified second one of the groups, the kid was perfect. It was all Joey's fault.
I mean, yeah, it usually is the tuner's fault, isn't it?
100%, especially when they're related to you.
Yeah, exactly. When you and the tuner have the same last name. Hey, you said Mossman did a little bit of Indy Next work. Was he at the Chris Griffiths?
He was. So he ran Friday with the Indy Next car. Then he ran the weekend in an Indy Pro car.
Oh, really?
And then he went back to Barber in an Indy Next car again.
Oh, yeah, they just had their test session out there.
Yeah, so Frankie checking out that stuff. Happy to have him back here. He's working with the talked about all the speed. How about the Speed family?
Yeah, it's great to see those guys out here. Alex was a wealth of information for me back at the Florida Winter Tour. Mike's walking around. I think at the Winter Tour I saw him with a cast on his hand or his arm. I don't know what the other guy looked like, but I didn't want to see him.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Mike's speed could defeat a grizzly bear hand-to-hand conflict.
I don't want to see it. He'd build an engine that would outrun it, that's for sure.
That is for sure.
And bears, they can run like 31 miles an hour, I think.
You think you could make it to 31 miles an hour on your foot downhill?
No. I have 2 fake hips. I think there's like a max speed on those. I think there's like
you're like Forrest Gump running out of his braces.
You know how like when you pull a trailer, they tell you not to let the wheels get over 75 miles, the wheel bearings not to get over 75 miles an hour. I think that's like when you have 2 metal hips. Yeah, it's like 12 miles an hour. I couldn't run 12 miles an hour if I had normal hips.
Well, there's a fantastic gym here at the Rio All Suite Hotel Casino. And
yeah, I saw you in it this morning.
And if I could get you on that treadmill, I'd love to get you to a 12 and see what happens.
Just smoke would start billowing from people would think it's the treadmill, but it's actually the user. All right, let's get back on target here a little bit. I'm sure YouTube is tired of our antics already. Blake Nash and Frankie Mossman make the trip around the formation lap here. Remember, 3/4 of a mile, 12 turns with a 520-foot long main straightaway, and that's a far cry from the old 1,000-footers you were talking about that sometimes the back straightaway would make up here in years past. Kai Hunter and Stephen Miller are row 2, Maroc and Fernandez row 3, Chase Hand and Buck Rivetta in row 4, Gavin Wardell, Max Saga, Craig Vasquez, and Laurent Legault make up the 6th row. Field will make their way out here.
I'm going to make a public service announcement to those on YouTube chat, just so you know. Nobody in race control can read your comments.
Yeah, that's very true, as always.
Just letting you know.
Yeah.
Just letting you know.
Yeah, you do appreciate the YouTube race directors.
Whoa! An aggressive move there. Blake Nash throwing it down to turn number 1. Love the style points.
Let's see here as they make their way out. Everybody, wow, look at that big slide job right there by the 389 of Rivetta. And you're right, just because it's a 12-kart field, Chris, does not mean it's not going to be exciting here in Speed Lab Racing Engines ROK GP Pro.
Yeah, absolutely awesome here. Nash out in front. I believe Miller got into second there. Mossman going to sit in third. Top 3 starting to pull away. Here's the head off into turn number 10.
Down the back straightaway, Stephen Miller unwinds the steering wheel. Fight for second starting to pick up here. Looking to find out if it was Stephen Miller who did, in fact, slot into that second position at the line. It's Kai Hunter and Blake Nash walking around the field here out in front. Frankie Mossman back in third now. Here comes Kai Hunter down to the inside in turn number 3. Give the top spot to Kai Hunter. Blake Nash tries to battle back around the outside. It gets tight there. Little barriers getting moved around.
Contact.
The 399 of Maroc gets kind of help to take evasive maneuvers. Oh, boy.
Meanwhile, Mossman head down and rolling here.
Wow, what happened there? Blake Nash just really hung tight around the outside, coming through turn 4 to try to make something happen on Kai Hunter, and that sort of just spilled the milk everywhere. And now you got Frankie Mossman leading them here at the end of lap number 2.
Pulling a piece of rad tape here is Mossman. That's familiar with you, kind of like a tear-off.
Is that rad tape? Is that like because it's radical tape? Like that tape is radical.
No, it's actually pretty boring tape. But, again, ambient temperature right now, just now 65. So to make sure the temperatures stay up, you'll see pieces of tape on the radiator, drivers left in these machines. And then as they watch their water temps on their microns start to get into their range, they'll pull a piece of tape, and they'll pull a piece of tape until they get it running in the perfect zone. But Mossman, stop looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, it's really tough to see drivers always glancing over their right shoulder on exit when the race is in front of them, even if they are the leader. Hey, you brought up a great point because we might have some family or some friends or some parents who are watching this race live on YouTube or here in Vegas with us who might not be experts in karting, such as yourself. You talked about that micron. It's a small computer on the steering wheel that can tell the drivers and the tuners, once the session is over, so much information. You talked about water temperature. They get to see their lap times, their RPM. Those little computers have gotten very sophisticated in the last 20 years, but they're an amazing tool for dissecting telemetry when the kart's out on track.
Absolutely. I mean, they've got sensors that, some people will run in practice. You can't run them in the race. But they have everything that guys are running here, from exhaust temperatures to water temperatures. obviously the RPM, the speed, the
wheel
braking.
speed sensor.
Yeah, and so these guys, what they'll do is when they get back, they'll download everything digital. Everything downloads now, cable-free, straight into the Micron software, and they're able to kind of dissect a lot of stuff. And it becomes really good with some of these teams here. I don't think you're going to find, at least I didn't see it at a glance. I didn't look too deeply, but I don't believe you're going to have many one-cart out-of-trailer tents here. Right, a lot of teams.
No, but there are a few. We got to interview one of them yesterday, and we're going to play that interview a little bit later on. But to your point, that data sharing in a big team.
Huge opportunity.
Very big benefit.
Yeah, when you've got 2-3 carts in a class and you've kind of got them all over the place on the time charts, it's a really great learning tool for those drivers that are still developing, still trying to find the speed to be able to look, at what their teammates doing here or there.
Yeah, the data sharing in these big mega teams these days might just be the biggest benefit because everybody drives the kart different and everybody likes the setup different. But when you can look at cold, hard numbers, those don't lie.
Nope. Meanwhile, speaking of not lying, Kai Hunter goes purple that lap. He's a 10th faster that time than Frankie Mossman. The gap just over half a second at the stripe, but you can visibly see it closing down here, Tony.
Yeah, Frankie Mossman kind of got, I don't want to say gifted, but was put into a very good position to take over the lead early back on lap number 2 when Blake Nash and Kai Hunter were trying to sort things out amongst themselves. You saw the 399 of Oliver Maroc kind of do nearly a half spin coming out of corner number 5, that would have been. Everybody kept the point in the right direction, but Mossman really kind of came out on the really good side of things after that dust-up. In lap number 3, it would have been at the end of lap number 2. And Mossman had the lead, has held it since that point. But you're right, Chris. Kai Hunter goes purple back on lap number 5 of 44.196. We're working lap number 7 right now. Mossman knows, I think, that they are getting closer to him just behind.
Yeah, I mean, Mossman's a seasoned veteran of this sport. He knows what's coming out the back here. He knows what's going on. He's buying his time. The clock just at 3 minutes remaining. Still plenty of racing, more than half race distance still ahead of us. But the top 3 are absolutely checked out right now.
4/10 of a second, nearly 5/10 of a second separated Mossman and Hunter last time by. It grows. So maybe Mossman grabbing a little bit of extra speed, maybe the tires finally coming in. So much can be done with air pressure and deciding when you want the kart to really come in. That term just means when do you want it to reach optimum performance, when do you want the tires to have the most grip, and that's very easily attained by just setting your pressures a little bit lower before they roll out on track. Takes a little bit longer to get up to that operating temperature that you really want to see him at. Fight for second right there. Big move as Blake Nash gets out in front of Kai Hunter, but that's only for second. Battling behind the race leader, Chris, does not help you reel in the guy in front of you, unfortunately.
Well, Nash must think that he's got enough speed that he can kind of go head down and run down Mossman now. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Is Hunter just going to settle for it, cruise along, as your leader just went purple?
Yeah, not settling for anything.
And not a little bit purple. I'm talking 0.3 of a second faster than the field purple, and has now grown that gap to 1.2. And that Mike Speed machine is starting to come to life.
Man, Frankie Mossman could not have picked a better lap to lay down a flyer, because as he's laying down just an awesome, super fast lap, Nash and Kai Hunter hurt their overall speed by racing each other and going side by side. So let's keep an eye on the margin. It was 1.2 seconds at the start of this lap, and Blake Nash had just moved into second. So as Frankie Mossman brings the 301 across the line, thanks to a purple lap of 44.170, 1.2 seconds was the deficit. It stays right at 1.2 seconds.
Everybody right there, 44.23, 44.23, 44.3. That's your top 3 in their lap times.
Deadly consistent for Frankie Mossman. Last lap was a 44.2. The lap before that was a 44.1, and that 44.1 is what the mark that everyone is chasing as far as lap speed right now. But this is a heat race. Your lap times are important, but they're not the only thing that matters. It is straight up position. Where you finish in this heat race determines where you start in heat number 2 later on this afternoon. And Frankie Mossman, 1.2 seconds the deficit for the last 2 trips across the start-finish line. I don't see anything to the naked eye that's really gonna. It's 0.9 of a second, so about 0.3 drop. But coming around here, they will not beat the clock back before it expires. So at 30 seconds left right now, this clock will expire, I believe, before they get to the start-finish line. So we should see 2 to go. But also, you don't want to trust me. My math is
questionable.
Questionable at best. questionable at best. Doing all this while also trying to find a place to plug in my MacBook so we don't lose timing and scoring. 10 seconds on the clock. It's going to be a drag race here to see if Frankie Mossman can beat the clock, and I think he's going to by the skin of his teeth. No, they show him 2 to go. That pretty much timed out perfectly.
Yeah.
He hit the line right as the clock hit 0-0.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nash holds the trophy here for going purple with a 44.07.8. He backs it up with a 44.098. Still quicker than your leader, but the gap 0.8 of a second.
Man, it's shrinking. I just don't know if it's shrinking quick enough.
Yeah, and this is where you've seen it in the last couple of races where the leaders start to battle about this point in the race, and it really opens the door for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th to close in. That's not the case here. Mossman's not racing anybody. Clean air is king in motorsports, so it doesn't matter what or where you're racing. And clean air seems to be helping Frankie Mossman right here as the white flag now in the air. And let's check the gaps. 44.1, 44.1, 44.4, 9/10. It grew just a little bit.
Yeah, Mossman able to stretch it out just over 1/10 of a second again. He's driving a really smart race at the front of the field.
Yeah, Mossman's done a great job here. Took advantage of an opportunity early and has not let that wash out.
No, it's so easy, I think, when you're the leader, especially when you've been the leader for so long, to get lazy and to not hit your marks, to not be aggressive with your laps. That has not been the case at all for Frankie Mossman. Now, again, not for lack of effort on Blake Nash's part. A really fast lap, the fastest lap of the race to this point, belongs to Blake Nash with a 44.078. But time will run out and the checkered flags wave. Speed Lab Racing Engines, ROK GP Pro, heat race number 1 goes to a 3:01 of Frankie Mossman after starting this race in the 2nd position. Pole sitter Blake Nash does his best to close the gap down to 0.8 of a second, but it's not enough. Blake Nash ends up in 2nd, Kai Hunter 3rd, Stephen Miller 4th, and Gavin Wardle the top 5 here at the end of heat race number 1.
Bingo, bango, Tony Laporta. And just like that, 4 to go here in the first round of heat races. It's been a beautiful morning here high atop the Rio All-Suite Hotel and Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada. ROK Cup, ROK Vegas event here, the season finale. We really enjoyed here. Vortex engines, Levanto tires, and a lot of great racing action early on. Getting a few things situated here in our broadcast booth. We're going to step away here for just a second from the audio, but we'll be right back with you with PSL Karting ROK Shifter Pro Heat Race number 1. All right, Tony Laporta, you see the carts leaving the grid. This is PSL Karting ROK Shifter Pro, heat race number 1 here from ROK Vegas. And boy, am I excited.
I can tell. I can hear it.
Both hairs of my head are stood up, and this one's going to be a barn burner.
Danielle Vasile will be the pole sitter in this one after landing a lap of 41.671. In qualifying yesterday, Kyle Wick got to see him at a high-limit sprint car race in Skagit, Washington a few weeks ago. Kyle will start 2nd for Team GFC. Jacob Gulick, another driver I got to watch a lot of at Pat's Acres back in the Pacific Northwest. Gulick will roll third in this one with Hunter Pickett in the 436, starting in the 4th position. Mateus Morgado starts 5th with Michael Avancino in the 6th position. Massimo Valiente starts 7th with Ayrton Littell in 8th. 9th and 10th see Ethan Buher with Jared Ramarayan rounding out row number 5. Nolan Gagnon and Robert Heck start in the 6th row. Concepcion, Baxley, Saraceno, Ruschetti, and Formal. Wow, Danny Formal with a DSQ in qualifying. He was a 41.733. That would have put him 2nd. He will now start from the tail in this 17-cart field. My, oh my, Danny Formal, not the driver you want to have starting behind you, because very quickly he could be the driver out in front of you.
Yeah, watching Formal here is going to be big. What really benefits Formal right here is that the Shifter Pro class is a progressive class, just like with some of the others.
Yep.
So wherever he finishes his heat race is where he's going to start the next one. He's not going to be stuck in an ABCD format where he's pinned to the back of this thing and starting dead last every single time. But the Greg Bell Tune machine, I have no doubt, Tony, is going to be on point.
The red flag goes down, the green flag goes down at the tail of the grid. That lets our chief starter Shaggy know that they are ready to go. He goes visors down, points to the lights, and anywhere in the next 5 seconds, those lights will extinguish, and the revs will go up, and we will go racing here for the PSL Karting ROK Shifter Pro Heat Race number 1. And off they go. It's the off-pole starter of Kyle Wick for Team GFC. Now in both shifter heat races we ran today so far, Chris, that off-pole lane has gotten the whole shot.
It has, and it makes you wonder, right? This parking lot used for everything but racing, for all but this 1 week of the year, and you kind of wonder, is there a little bit more grip out there?
Hey, the NHRA is in Las Vegas this weekend as well, and their lane choice is everything, and we're noticing a trend. 2 times, I think, is a trend, right, technically?
I think we need one more.
One more to be at a trend.
Yeah,
maybe we're just a coincidence right now. But in ROK Shifter Master and now here in ROK Shifter Pro, we've seen that off-pole outside lane get the jump on the lights out. Lap 1 in the books here. Kyle Wick leads the way after grabbing that pole shot at lights out. Daniel Vasile, the pole sitter, starts in the 2nd position. It is so cool to see a Tal cart back on track here.
Don't look now. Oh. Danny Formal up to 10th.
Wow, Vasile took the top spot for a moment, but Kyle Wick took it right back from him, and he's got Hunter Pickett, his Team GFC teammate, right behind. So you see Vasile in the Ital cart in a bit of a Gary Carlton sandwich here, and Wick and Pickett trying to make it a top 2 right now for Team GFC.
Well, at least you know it's gluten-free if it's a Gary Carlton sandwich.
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to say. Lap number 2 done and dusted here. Boy, they're flying around this place, grabbing gears early on.
Yeah, fast lap times, a lot of talent, a lot of horsepower here, and these drivers starting to settle in here. It's still really early on. Still stuff not really in optimal temperatures, and I think that this one's going to get pretty heated as we get to the halfway point of this race, Tony. Big move to the bottom here. That's going to be Hunter Pickett. Pickett now to 2nd. That's going to make a GFC 1-2. Can he go head down and run down his teammate here, Kyle Wick?
Pickett picking up the 2nd position. You see what I did there?
Well done.
We had a little bit of a slow motion shot right there for you for just a moment as race leader Kyle Wick goes purple that time by, and again, not that he's coordinating it, planning it like this, but picks a great time to go purple, Kyle Wick does, because behind him, 2nd and 3rd will pass each other, and you're just going to go slower when you're racing a guy.
So, purple, 42.134. You want to know the 2nd fastest lap? That's your 9th place runner, Formal, with a 42.138. We got
Formal watch happening.
I do. I'm so excited to watch this because, for 20 years I've seen Danny Formal grow into a really, really good professional race car driver all over this country in go-karts and all sorts of classes and conditions. And to watch him carve through a field with this much talent is something that I just love to watch.
Well,
and guess what? Still on the move, back up to 8th, but purple, that belongs to Hunter Pickett. 41.870 now as he continues to make the charge to run down Kyle Wick.
Well, let's see if we can catch up with Danny Formal here. He's in that 2nd pack coming out of the infield here in just a moment. We'll move back here if we can and try to pick up a shot of that. That's the first main pack in front of you. We'll hold here if we can. And then
I'd like to see the 437 of Formal just to really see where the pressure is.
Yeah, as we'll try to watch that back half of the top 10 leader streak through here. Let's see if we can hold on this static shot of the start-finish line right here. We hang with the leaders for just another trip around. As Formal has picked up another spot, he's into 7th, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There he is. He's that second carton line right there. The bright green gloves. It's very hard to miss Danny Formal as we have a look at him now.
Up to 7th, trying to make a move for 6th. Then he'll have some clean track here to try and run up the grid. But Pickett goes even faster that time by 41.818. Purple back-to-back laps here. So Formal's 42.143.
Let's see.
So
I think
everybody's leveled out quite a bit here on pace. Now this is where it's going to get difficult.
Yeah, let's see what Formal. I thought maybe he'd have something right there in turn number 10, but not close enough. You could spot those gloves in a snowstorm, and he's making them work right now.
Well, we talked about Greg Bell spinning the wrenches there. Not getting any younger, that Greg Bell. He needed Formal to wear these gloves just so he could identify his driver.
Hey, I like Greg Bell. I don't know why you're being so mean to him right now.
Oh, he's just a big teddy bear.
He is, but he's still kind of intimidating. I don't want to find out if he's got. I just don't want to make Greg Bell mad. Is what I'm trying to say.
No.
His driver's not making him mad right now. After starting 17th due to a what sounds to be like a tech disqualification after qualifying yesterday, Danny Formal doing a fantastic job at moving back up to the field. Scored in the 8th position
and
right now.
There's the spot. He's going to go to 6th here.
We're going to 2 for 1. Yes, it was. So from 7th to 6th around Ethan Buher.
But Vasile goes purple. That Itel kart starting to come to life here. The gap out front, Kyle Wick leads it by 0.6 of a second overall.
And as we take one last look here at Formal before moving back up to the leaders, Formal really now comes to that top 5. Chris, and he's got his work cut out for him once he gets there. Mateus Morgado, Jacob Gulick, Vasile, your pole sitter, Pickett and Wick. That's some heavy talent up at the front of this field.
As we just for a brief moment there caught the leaders of this race, we're trying to watch here as Kyle Wick continuing to hold on back to the leaders in your frame now. Pickett goes purple. So they're starting to run down 4.488. That's your margin here, first to second. Less than a half a second separates these two GFC karts and the Itel kart. That's 1, 2, 3 on track.
Yeah, it's really good stuff right now as we get down to the very end of this one. 2 minutes left on the clock right there. So they'll rip off a few more laps here before the clock expires. And as always, here in these junior and senior and master categories, everything but micro and mini is an 8-minute long heat race plus 2 laps. And that's why we watch the clock and reference it so often.
1:40 to go here as they cross the stripe that time. Nobody jumps up to purple there.
No, but Pickett, pretty consistent. 41.753, 2 laps ago. That was good enough for quickest overall. Last time by was a 41.849. The gap from first to second, just under half of a second. 0.468, 0.4 of a second separate the leaders. And Chris, it's just so funny what it does to the naked eye because it kind of feels like more than that when you look at them at some parts of the track, but then at others you think, oh, it's way closer.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the give and take of this place, right? You might have a go-kart set up right now to help you do one section better than another. Maybe you're more comfortable. Maybe there's so many different things, right? It could be a different gear choice. It could literally be so many things, especially with the shifter class that's making a driver better through one sector than another. But the overall lap is what matters. And right now, you have Hunter Pickett and Daniel Vasile trying to put down the perfect laps as they run down. Vasile with a big look to the bottom of Pickett. He's going to get it. Driver is clear there as they settle back in, but is that just going to let Wick continue to open the lead?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? When you start battling side by side while also trying to chase down a leader or a kart in front of you, the side-by-side racing, I mean, it's just plain physics. You can't go as fast when you're racing side-by-side with a guy as you can if you're focused and hitting your marks, trying to run down the leader up in front of you. 15 seconds to go here at the clock, so they're going to get this lap plus 2 more. So effectively working 3 to go right now, and they'll see the sticks when they come back around. Hunter Pickett, he wasn't second. Chris, you just called out the pass by Vasile. Pickett still the quickest kart on track with a 41.753, but you're right, it killed their chance at catching Kyle Wick. The lead nearly a full second now. It was under half of a second before that pass.
The battle for 4th and 5th between Gulick and Morgado starting to heat up just a little bit here. Formal still sitting in the 6th spot. Then it'll be Boer, Rashidi. Is that Avancino, I believe, in the 9th spot?
Yeah, Avancino and Raman Ryan complete the top 10. Good look right there at the battle you just called out, Chris. 4th and 5th, Gulick and Morgado. Morgado was dominant at the Florida Winter Tour earlier this year, back in January and February in Homestead, Miami, doubling up on weekends down there in South Florida. And as they come around here, the clock has run out, so they should be seeing 2 to go when they get back to the start-finish line. So cool.
I think they're actually coming to the white.
Okay, yeah, they might have seen that 2 to go before the clock ran out, just based on the pace they were setting here, because the monitor does show 2 laps remaining, so we'll see what our chief starter, Shaggy, shows them when they come around. And you're right, Chris, white flag in the air, 1 lap to go for race leader Kyle Wick. And Morgado right there. Does he have enough time? Does he have enough pace to try to put the moves on Jacob Gulick for 4th position?
Yeah, and as we look back at our early on segment, we were watching tracking for them all, coming from last now to 6th. He's the last 3 laps matched your leader, Kyle Wick, lap for lap on pace. So he's got the pace to be there. He just doesn't have that little bit more to continue to close down that gap. But progressive heat races, it's going to help him out just fine for later.
Well, but great point. You set me up. I think progressive heat races are important, but in these shifters, they're not as important. Checkered flag waves, I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. Kyle Wick gets the victory in the PSL Karting ROK Shifter Pro heat race number 1. Vasile ends up in 2nd after starting on the pole position. Pickett 3rd, Gulick and Morgado, your top 5. Danny Formal from 17th to 6th when the checkered flags wave. You know, if he would have had more time, he could have kept going. That's good for him with progressive heat races, but all I wanted to say was the progressive heats mean a lot, especially when you look at like Morgado. He finishes 5th. That means he's going to have an inside starting position when we get to the next heat. But clearly, we've seen that starting on the outside row here or on the outside line in these standing starts for the shifters, it's not a death sentence. You really do want to be on the inside lane for the rolling starts because momentum just dominates those races. But I don't think it's as beneficial to you to start on the inside for these standing starts with the shifters, because twice now we've seen the off-pole starter get the whole shot.
Well, the good and the bad of it is the good is we're onto it. The bad is we're going to have to wait until after lunch to see if it's going to pay off.
I know, you're right. But anticipation will only last so long, and then we will get what we're waiting for. And that's more ROK Cup USA Racing. Speaking of more ROK Cup USA Racing, we've got some right now. That's right. As we get very close to the end of our morning program here, ROK GP Junior is on the grid now. This category brought to you by Rocket Racing Company. The Rocket Racing Company, ROK GP Juniors are on the grid. And then after this, we will just have a pair of heat races in the Nash Motorsports VLR Senior, splitting that field. So they'll have a pair of heats, A and B, and C and D. Is that Brady Yeager on the fence line down there, swiping on his phone? I believe it is, as we're getting ready to go here with our next heat races. If it is Brady, he's quite stoic. He's not looking up. He's not letting us see anything.
Brady, another great kid, which actually brings you to a point, Tony. We're actually going to do a really cool thing. If you're on property and you can answer a trivia question for me, we're going to give away a free ROK Cup hat. Mike Burrell giving us some giveaways here on property. You have to find me during lunchtime to collect it, but you're going to have to text in this answer. The question is...
Is the free hat the one on your head?
Nope. But the question is, who has won the most features in ROK Vegas history? Text your answers to 503-593-6464. Again, who's won the most ROK Cup USA features here in Vegas only? Get a free hat. Text your answers, 503-593-6464. I love these trivias, and we're going to do one every day, Tony.
Yeah, the trivia giveaway is a great idea. I'm glad you had it. I just want to go on record as saying that was a great idea you had to give away a free hat.
Big thanks to Mike Burrell here.
Yeah, Mike Burrell.
From ROK USA for allowing us to do it.
Pride making such a cool hat.
Yeah.
And also, I think they call them finals here. I'm like you. They're features to me.
Of course they're, yeah.
Yeah, they're finals technically here.
Yeah. The most final wins in ROK Vegas history. That's going to be the...
Yeah, we'll give you that phone number a little bit later on here. That'll be exciting. That'll really be cool to see who can get that done. Rocket Racing Company brings us ROK GP Junior. Diego Ardiles will start on the pole position inside row number 1. Naomi Garcia in the 219 will roll off second. Edward Kennedy and Turner Brown make up row number 2. Sarah Bradley starts in the 5th position with Nathan Dupuis in 6th. Alexander Vanchev starts 7th. Dean Peterson in 8th. With Javier Chaparro in 9th and Declan Dionerine in the top 10. There we go. Yeah.
This one's going to be great here.
Yeah, the trivia is already getting some traction, it sounds like.
It looks like it's starting to build up. That's really good. Love all of our fans at home.
We got some celebrities watching. That's how you know it's really getting big.
Absolutely.
Chaparro and Dionerine in complete the top 10. Jose Alejandro Halfin rolls off 11th. Ricardo Cerruth, 12th. Geronimo Corral, 13th. Jackson Alfonte, 14th. Mateus Gonzalez and Cole Anderson complete the field. And trivia questions are eliciting responses.
Man, that's so cool, though. We've had about 15 responses so far. Super exciting. Love giving away free hats.
Well, you know me. I've never met a hat I didn't like.
We know, Tony. So, carts rolling here for GP Junior Heat 1, brought to you by Rocket Racing Company. Super looking forward to this one, because after this,
it's the last pair of heats. The Nash Motorsports.
Senior VLR A and B, then C and D, and we know that it's going to be fantastic. This racetrack started to take shape here. You know, the track progression throughout the weekend is also something, Tony, we're going to have to pay attention to. As this Levanto rubber continues to lay down, as the sun's on it all day long, a nice cool evening to kind of let the chemicals set back in. It's really going to be curious, for me at least, to see how much rubber this place is going to gain throughout the next couple days.
Well, and I was walking through the pit area all weekend. Drivers have raved about what they're getting from these Levanto tires, not only in terms of right out of the gate grip, but they really do like how it's feeling and how it's staying underneath them for the entirety of a session and multiple sessions at that. So I'm with you. It'll be very exciting to see how this track changes and what chassis do as far as reaction and different changes they have to make throughout the race weekend here at ROK Vegas. Diego Ardiles and Naomi Garcia bring him into the tram lanes. Lights go out and we go racing. Wow, not the start at all. That Naomi Garcia in the new 219 wanted drops at least 3 or 4 positions, I think, on the start, and they are getting sideways in turn number 3.
So we talk about low tire pressures. We know about ill-handling go-karts on low tires, and that's exactly what it was. You see these drivers locking up another one here in turn number 4, but you see these drivers kind of hooking the cart into the corner, the old Margay flick they would call it.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to get the heat up. These things are dancing and two-stepping all over the place, and that's exactly what happened there. Driver got into the corner, locked him up a little bit, had a little bit of help. Next thing you know, they're facing the wrong way.
First driver we saw go around that, I think that was the 287 of Javier Chaparro, and I think you're dead on. Very low tire pressures, not very hot tires, and just a little bit of help or getting a little aggressive on the brakes, trying to keep guys behind you on the opening lap there, and you can see karts go sideways and go around very, very quickly as Diego Ardiles leads them out of lap number 1. But Edward Kennedy right there, keeping Ardiles very honest. And then the Sarah Bradley, number 258, is in third. Had a lot of fun watching Sarah Bradley race earlier this year at the Florida Winter Tour. She had some very good runs. It is no surprise to see her battling in the top 3 early on here.
And if memory serves me correct, Kennedy didn't have the best of runs in ROV earlier. I believe that was a contact that we had in turn 2 earlier this morning. Happy to see Edward Kennedy back out here on track now in this GP Junior class and putting together a good run so far.
That's what's so cool about how ROK Cup USA is doing their program right now. You've got the pair of single-speed categories, VLR and ROK, right? VLR is the 100cc air-cooled engine as Sarah Bradley takes a look down at the inside in 3. Move Bradley up a position around the 215 of Edward Kennedy. Sarah Bradley from 3rd to 2nd after starting this race back in 5th. Bradley on the move forward. But to Chris's point, you've got the VLR, the 100cc air-cooled Junior and Senior. Then you've got the ROK GP, Junior and Senior. It's a 125cc water-cooled, but they're both single-speed engines. And you see not all, I'm not sure what the numbers come to exactly, but quite a lot of the drivers will do double duty this weekend. And at a lot of ROK Cup USA weekends, they will run the VLR Junior. You'll also see them in ROK GP Junior. They'll run the VLR Senior if they're of age. You'll also probably see a lot of them in ROK GP Pro. And that's great because you get to see these drivers battle so many different times on track. The 236 And the 2:15 right there, that's Edward Kennedy and Turner Brown getting a little bit familiar with each other coming through turn number 3. And that kind of breaks up what was a 5-cart pack now into a 3-cart train farther behind. And that's Turner Brown trying to make something happen, I believe, on Edward Kennedy.
But the 2-for-1 special there. Naomi Garcia going to take both of them.
Was that Garcia?
Yeah, Garcia with a good punch up. I believe that's going to put Speed Concepts 1, 2, 3 on track right here. Garcia head down, trying to run down the back bumper of Sarah Bradley now, but Bradley's going to go purple that time by 45.087, 2/10 clear of the Speed Concept leader, Diego Ardiles.
Wow, look at this. You had Naomi Garcia up in the 3rd position for a little bit, but Turner Brown in that 2:36, I believe, has gotten back into the provisional inside row 2 for when this race goes checker, because where these drivers finish is where they'll start heat race number 2. So Sarah Bradley in 2nd, then behind her, it's a real kind of shakeup. Every lap, every corner, things are changing rapidly here. Naomi Garcia, Turner Brown, and Edward Kennedy having a really good race. And remember, Chris, Jose Alejandro Halfin was the driver that we saw just run a masterful race late in VLR Junior and get up there very close to the top spot when it all came down to the end of the checker flag. Halfin, also another driver pulling double duty, currently sits 6th in this Rocket Racing Company GP Junior heat race number 1.
So as we look to the clock here,
just under
4 minutes remain. Your top 2 set and sail. The gap back 2 seconds, 2.1 seconds actually, between Bradley and Brown.
All right, Edward Kennedy sitting in 5th, trying to do what he can to reel in Naomi Garcia, but it's Turner Brown in the 3rd position. And Brown back over almost right at 2 seconds from 2nd to 3rd. Bradley back to Brown. Stays right even there. Although Turner Brown did just click off a purple lap. Really good lap there for Turner Brown. But we stay glued into the race for the lead here as Sarah Bradley, the young lady in the 2:58, trying to find a way around Speed Concepts teammate Diego Ardiles as they make their way down the infield section one more time. We saw Ardiles back at the Florida Winter Tour racing with Rollison Performance Group. So Ardiles making a switch since I last saw him, at least. It's been a very busy summer of karting, no doubt. But Ardiles making the move now to Speed Concepts. Hasn't missed a beat. Looks just as good as he did back in the winter and the spring at the FWT.
Absolutely, and Sarah Bradley really trying to put it to. How about this one, the 241 and the 287. 241, that's Nathan Dupuy.
And Chaparro. Chaparro was involved in a lap 1 incident, so really probably looking forward to the heat races. The heat race being over here this morning.
Yeah.
Chaparro.
Trying to get a good reset for round 2, which comes after lunch. Tony and I's favorite class of the day. Meanwhile, out in front, how about this one? Naomi Garcia goes purple last time by. Missed that one. 44.8. That's pretty good, but fastest personal lap set by Ardiles, Brown, and also Kennedy on that lap.
Wow, look at that, though, Chris. Naomi Garcia with a 44.889 and Turner Brown just in front in the 3rd position of 44.9. They're the only 2 drivers in the 44-second bracket. Your leaders a 45.0 and a 45.0. Let's see if that improves at all here. No, they stay even at a 44 flat, each one of them.
Just under 2 minutes remain. Earlier you said it couldn't be done, Tony. Are we going to be able to see this battle of 2 become a battle of 5?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm not going to speak in definites ever again. Anything could happen.
Good.
Never say never, as I think Justin Bieber once said.
Well, the Rocket Racing Company ROK GP Junior Heat 1 starting to take shape here as the clock winds down. All carts running at a pretty good window. And I'm really interested to see what these next couple of laps are going to unfold for us.
Yeah, Ardiles is putting in work right now, just trying to keep Sarah Bradley behind. Bradley's let a little bit of daylight grow in between her and leader Diego Ardiles. 45.1 drops to a 45 flat for Ardiles, so he is picking up the pace.
That second group led by Turner Brown knocks 0.2 of a second that lap off the leaders. The train out the back is definitely rolling.
Yeah, and what did I learn earlier? Never say never.
Never say never.
So there's the leaders, Diego Ardiles, Sarah Bradley, Turner Brown, and Naomi Garcia are going to do everything they can. And, hey, all it takes is one attempt for a pass by right now Sarah Bradley. She's the driver trailing in second. One ill-timed attempt at a pass. They don't even have to make contact. They don't have to get taken out. But if they slow each other down by racing up for the lead, bam, Turner Brown and Naomi Garcia and Edward Kennedy are going to be there right at the front of this field.
Absolutely. They cross the stripe here.
3 to go.
Yeah, should be about 3 laps to go here. The clock will expire in 20 seconds.
Yeah, they'll see 2 when they get back. So that's the deal, right? Sarah Bradley, she's not in the hot seat in the sense of she's got someone right behind her. Third place is breathing down her neck. But Bradley knows. She's an experienced driver. She's got to pick her spots here very carefully. And if she doesn't time this pass correctly, she's looked over her shoulder a time or two. She knows that they've got a couple kart lengths back, but that gap will shrink very quickly if an attempt for the pass by her does not go as well as it possibly could.
Absolutely. Absolutely here. Drivers leading now off turn number 10. Should be 2 sticks in the air here as they cross the start finish line. 2 laps to go in this heat race. And this is where we've seen the action really heat up all morning.
Yeah, right at the very end of these. Now Sarah Bradley closes right back up. 1/10 of a second. Now no tenths of a second as Sarah Bradley shows the rear bumper to race leader Diego Ardiles. Bradley takes over the top spot, and that was a very well executed pass.
It was, but
look how close 3rd and 4th have gotten already.
Here it is. You could cover him with a blanket. It only took 1 move, and it was clean, it was efficient, and you're not going to get away with losing any less amount of time on a pass
than that
right there.
Yeah.
Here comes Ardiles now looking to the bottom of Bradley. Nothing there, but here comes Turner Brown.
Yeah, that's a great shot right there by our RF camera, I think.
And I'll say it, last lap, before this, Naomi Garcia went purple.
Yeah, exactly. Naomi Garcia's got plenty of pace still. The 2:58 of Sarah Bradley leads them out of 1 through 2, now down into 3. Turner Brown right there in the 2:36 sits in 3rd aboard the Cosmic for RPG, popping out wide to try to build some speed. That's the 4th place runner, Naomi Garcia, into the infield for the final time.
Garcia's through.
Garcia's through. Move Garcia up into the 2nd position. Ardiles trying to fend off everybody behind. Wow, and this is really playing into Sarah Bradley's hands, isn't it?
Absolutely. Sarah Bradley checked out here on the final lap. The big one to watch is what's Turner Brown going to do. Big move here from Brown. That's going to let 6 of the Edward Kennedy back into this action.
Man, and the battling behind falls right into Sarah Bradley's lap. Bradley handedly wins the Rocket Racing Company ROK GP Junior Heat Race number 1 by a margin of 1.2 seconds. They could not have been, I don't think that gap separated 1st to 5th when they came around to see the white flag, but Bradley gets it done by 1.2 seconds.
And the biggest one there, Edward Kennedy, was outside looking in, nowhere in the picture. That's how much time racing somebody around you is going to cost you on this technical racetrack, Tony, all weekend long. As Kennedy able to sneak out of 4th place there, Garcia going to be 5th.
That's what's great about karting is it's always so competitive, and you can't really afford to give up anything because just the state of karting today at this level is so close, so hotly contested. Sarah Bradley gets the job done in Rocket Racing Company ROK GP Junior Heat Race number 1. Turner Brown ends up in 2nd. Diego Ardiles showed great pace there for most of that race. Ends up in 3rd. Edward Kennedy 4th. And Naomi Garcia in the 5th position. Halfin is 6th. Van Chev 7th. Peterson, Dionorine, and Corral the top 10. Great race right there in the Rocket Racing Company ROK GP Junior. 1 class left to go, but so many entries necessitate a split field, so two heats left to go with 1 category. This is going to be the Nash Motorsports ROK VLR Senior. Heat 1 will be A versus B. Then you will see Heat 1 of C versus D. Jesus Vasquez Jr. with Chase Hand will make up the front row. Jose Carlos Hernandez starts 3rd with Keegan Kaminsky outside of row number 2. Oliver Maroc and Diego Ramos share row number 3. Kieran Rogers and Alex Mercado share row number 4. Alan Eisenbard and Kane Martin make up the top 10. Kristen Carrillo starts 11th. Ethan Williams 12th. Then it is Valen Van Kest in 13th, Frederick Manning 14th, and Jack Small complete the top 15. Oliver Calvo will roll 16th with Ridgely Welsh and Parker DeLong making up row number 9. Jamison Gwinnett starts 19th with Devin Gellings in 20th. Aiden Shimbashi, got to talk to him a little bit yesterday, starts 21st with Lusano Sosto in 22nd. Eric Delaney, 23rd. Luca Posick, 24th. Joel Lewis, Christian Martinez, and Steven DeKaiser the 27-cart grid. Joelle Lewis is a young lady that I was trying to remember the name of when Chris and I a little while ago were talking about data and how impactful it is to have a lot of teammates underneath a tent to share micron telemetry and learn more about what everybody under your tent is doing, which is very beneficial, and it's very it's such a popular thing to do. That's why you see so many big team transporters these days with 2, 3 tents outside, 15, 20, 30 carts at a time underneath a tent. And Chris was talking about how beneficial that can be, and because of that, you rarely see single cart efforts. One trailer, one go-kart, that's just not the norm at this level of national and international karting anymore. Joelle Lewis, I don't want to say she's the only one here because I simply haven't walked through every single inch of the pits and confirmed it. But Joelle Lewis, the young lady starting 25th here in ROK VLR Senior, brought to you by Nash Motorsports, Heat 1, A versus B. Joelle Lewis, a young lady out of Golden, Colorado. That's a great state that I used to call home. And she and her family are out here racing by way of support from, I think, something like 25 or 30 donors stepped up to get Joelle out here to a race she's always wanted to be a part of, the ROK Vegas event in Las Vegas, Nevada. She's got some work to do starting in the 25th position. We have an interview we got to record with her yesterday. We'll air that a little bit later on. But she starts in the 25th position. She is one of those single cart, single trailer entries that you so rarely see. That's the 957 of Joelle Lewis.
Well, Tony, I was observing here from our tower.
Right.
And I got to give a lot of credit to the kids in that last class.
Yeah.
A lot of action. I looked down through the binoculars at the scale lines where I was.
Yes.
And nothing but pure professionalism.
Yeah, some handshakes.
High fives, everything.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Nash Motorsports, A versus B. ROK VLR Senior. Beautiful looking grid right there as Jesus Vasquez Jr. and Chase Hand bring him into the tram lanes. The lights go out. Everybody waited just the right amount of time. We're racing here with Nash Motorsports VLR Senior.
I love these A, B, C, D breakup groups. Unless they're in your group, you only see them one time through the heat races, and that's what makes it even cooler when you get back to the finals.
Yes, don't call them a feature. Don't call them a feature.
I think that's Penn and Teller. That's the feature.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the feature is what's going on up here in this booth, high above the track, in the back lot of the Rio. And we've only got this heat race and one more to go as we've split ROK VLR Senior. And that's just, again, due to the high amount of entries in this class. Love to see them split them up and everybody get a chance to race somebody different through the 3 heat races. And, again, you keep the heats a little bit smaller that way. Vasquez Jr., your pole sitter, shows the way after one lap. Chase Hand holding station right there in the second position. Third place is Jose Carlos Hernandez, and Hernandez took the green flag, or the lights out rather, for this race in the third position. So no real major dramas up at the front of the field as they head into the infield here on lap number 2.
So there's GFC carts out front, 1 and 2. Still trying to get some pressures up, trying to get some engine temps up. Not really in their window yet. Still pretty early here, Tony. But as you see how tight they are with only a lap and a half here completed, you can tell where we're going to see the drama here in about 6-7 laps.
And you talked a little bit ago, Chris, about the track changing and just watching that as it goes. Well, full day of practice on Wednesday, full day of practice on Thursday, with qualifying at the end of the afternoon yesterday, and then a morning warm-up session here today. This track's already defining those corners. If you removed all the barriers, you could see as the battle for the lead takes place. That's Chase Hand getting around the 909 of Vasquez Jr., but plenty of Levanto tire rubber getting put down around this place. If you took an aerial shot of this track with no barriers around it, you'd very easily know where the corners were.
One of my most exciting parts about some of these races over the years has been on the front side and seeing the construction happen, seeing the track build happen. Obviously the competition's great, but then also being here a day or two after and watching what it looks like when it's done. Totally different. You kind of wonder, how do people who pave parking lots for a living stay in business? Well, people like ROK show up and put on one hell of an event for a week long, and then they're going to need to do it. But here comes a move for the lead as Vasquez Jr. back into the spot here. To the lead, top 4 checked up. Hand doesn't want to ride.
No, he doesn't. And that fight for the lead opens the door. They're side by side. Is it a race lap or a pace lap? As Jose Carlos Hernandez gets into the middle of this. No team orders at Team GFC as Chase Hand and Jesus Vasquez Jr. really slowed this thing down, and now it's like, what, a 6-7 cart train.
We talked about this earlier. There's no excuses when it comes to the racecraft of seniors.
No.
There's no excuses for the actions made on racetrack. If they screw up, they screw up. There's nothing. It's their fault.
Yes.
Well, that right there is their fault because there was 3 or 4 carts, maybe 5, that had an opportunity to just ride and go racing. And now I literally cannot count high enough the amount of carts in this race.
Yeah, exactly. That lead pack has grown to a very large train of carts as they come out of turn 2 and snake back into the infield here out of turn number 3.
The out in front, Chase Hand, what I think it is? He must not have any tear-offs on his helmet. Didn't want to run second.
No.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah, you don't want to get anything dirty. You don't want to get that visor full of mud or dirt or whatever. Might pop up here in the middle of a parking lot in Las Vegas,
It's
Nevada.
Vegas, man. I've seen way more obscure things happen.
I'm sure you have.
So these GFC carts, 1, 2, 3. Keegan Kaminsky sitting in the 3rd spot. Set the fastest lap a couple laps ago. Still sitting in the purple column with a 46.4. Funny enough, identical to the lap Chase Hand ran last time. But this time it's Vasquez Jr. now. Going to go purple. 46.2.
Yeah.
That's 0.3 quicker last lap than your leader.
Great lap by Vasquez Jr., and that allows him to just come right back up on the back bumper of Chase Hand. And you are not seeing some of the patience that we saw earlier in the morning here. Chris, these senior drivers are aggressive. And when they have an opportunity to make a pass, they're going for it. That's what you saw between the 2 leaders, Chase Hand and Jesus Vasquez Jr., and now their teammate Keegan Kaminsky right there. Now, will they show a little bit of patience at this point? It's a 3-cart breakaway. They've got over 3.5, just under 3.5 minutes on the clock here, plus 2 laps. You would hope they'd work together a little bit and gap themselves.
Now, obviously, not every driver has ran in our former senior class early, but some of these drivers are doubling up. They're running 2 classes, and you can see the aggression out of those who already have a heat race under their belt here this weekend.
Yeah, no trepidation. They know where they can make passes. They know where there's grip. They know where there's not grip, and they know how this track flows under racing conditions. Remember, up till now, most of these drivers have only seen the track in qualifying and practice, and they didn't change the layout. They didn't move the barriers. But it's just different when it's racing and you're competing wheel to wheel with guys.
It's a different mindset. Everything's kind of prepped and prepared differently going into it from the go-kart to the driver. And we're seeing a great race here as these top 3 continue just to pull away. They're doing it the right way.
Putting the head down is Chase Hand and Jesus Vasquez Jr. Maybe these 2 learned a lesson back before the halfway point of this race, is saying, hey, let's really bide our time here and not get too aggressive too early on.
Meanwhile, Kaminsky goes purple yet again with a 46.170. Only driver in the 46.1s. How about a 46.234, 46.223 for your top 2, Hand and Vasquez Jr. last time by, and these carts are absolutely rolling right now.
And the crazy thing is you just see it on your screen, Chris, so much speed, right, amongst these 3 drivers. So it feels like at any moment Vasquez or Kaminsky could pull out and make an attempt for second or for the race lead. But I think they're all really using their heads right now, sitting back, biding their time. Clock shows just under 2 minutes to go. They'll eclipse the lap here before it sees a minute and a half, so still a good amount of racing to go. But the speed here in Nash Motorsports VLR Senior, it's apparent. And if one of these guys wants to get dancy with it right there, like Vasquez pulling out to the inside in turn number 3 on corner entry, give him the race lead. But does Chase Hand try him right back in turn number 4? No, he holds his water and stays in line.
The only way this might have not been as bad as maybe some of these earlier races is Kaminsky stayed in 3rd, picked up the back bumper of Hand and pushed him along.
Yes.
The last lap they had put another 2.5 tenths over 4th place. The group is right on the cusp of being able to break out on this thing for the amount of time remaining, which is 1 minute and 10 seconds right now. But throwing these passes on is not going to help them do that.
Yeah, it's going to allow Diego Ramos, Oliver Maroc, Alan Eisenbart, Jose Carlos Hernandez, and the rest of the top 10. You're right, Chris. It's going to allow those guys to get closer and closer and closer.
And there it is. That group closed in 2.5 tenths of a second last lap. So basically the last 2 laps, the gap has negated itself, wash each other completely clean. But they're so close to being able to break out.
They come through the infield here, 30 seconds to go on the clock.
It's going to be close.
Yeah, it's going to be really close here if they'll see 2 to go or not. I don't imagine they would, but sometimes race control does show them the 2 to go if it's super, super close. we'll see what happens here as they pop up, get on the brakes here at the end of the back straightaway in turn number 10. They'll snake out of 11 and then hit that quick dog leg in turn number 12.
15 seconds on the clock,
now,
and they're going to let them be here.
Yeah, they're going to see 3 to go, technically,
yes.
Right there. They don't actually see anything, but they'll keep the flags in the pocket of Chief Starter Shaggy, and he'll show 2 to go when they get back. So what does Chase Hand think? What does he do right now?
Well, Chase Hand just ran the fastest lap that he's ran all day long, a 46.176, which is about a half a tenth faster than anybody else on the track. Sitting here buying his time. He knows he's got Kaminsky out the back. He knows he's got Vasquez Jr. up front. People he's raced with several times in the past. Nothing new here for Chase Hand, and he's going to try and time this thing to the best possible point. However, you see a little bit of daylight growing here between Vasquez and Hand.
Yeah, you really do.
And it's one of those situations, he's going to see the 2 to go. The emotions start to kick in, and I feel like if he gets the run, he's going to take it.
I think you're right about all that. Vasquez 46.256 to Hand's 46.271. So it's an extremely small difference. But leader Vasquez Jr. is just a little bit quicker, and he knows that it's getting to the end of this one. He just cheated his entry into the hairpin, turn number 3, a little bit. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't drastic. But he's already starting to think defensively. We'll see if he changes his corner entry up at all here. And you can't get much closer amongst these top 3. Vasquez Jr. a little bit tighter there on corner entry into turn number 9. And Chase Hand is telling him to go.
He literally, that was a signal to Kaminsky. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's stay in line. Let's go catch this guy. Right here, it should be white flag in the air.
Yep.
Is Hand and Kaminsky going to be able to pull this off here into turn number 1? If they're going to work the two-man special, that's the best spot. But Hand has now left his wingman.
Yeah, Chase Hand's gotten a little bit out in front.
Vasquez knows it's coming.
Oh,
Hand on the outside.
Wow, he got down under the dirty stuff and I think got a little squirrely on corner entry. Chase Hand almost went around the outside like 2 trailer park girls.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Tony Laporta, but here comes Kaminsky, trying to make the best of it here.
This is really good stuff here. Never mind the fact they all got to go back to the same tent when this heat race is over.
Here comes Kaminsky now. Big drive underhand. Able to keep it tight on exit, get the momentum. Vasquez still going to play a little defensive role. Kaminsky now trying to cross up one more time, but don't look now. Ramos is in the shot.
Wow, I think that was just a case of Chase Hand waiting a little too long and getting away from his dancing partner in Keegan Kaminsky. Vasquez Jr. has no real challenge at the very end of that race. Vasquez Jr. holds on for the win in Nash Motorsports A versus B. VLR Senior Heat Race number 1. Keegan Kaminsky goes 3rd to 2nd there at the very end. Kaminsky ends up P2 with Chase Hand falling to 3rd at the last lap. Diego Ramos got very close, as you said, Chris, but will settle for 4th. Alan Eisenbard completed your top 5. Hernandez, Maroc, Mercado, Calvo, and Kieran Rogers, the top 10 with only 1 heat race here to go with ROK Vegas 2024.
Well, Tony Laporta, let's step away for a little station identification here. Thanks to some of our partners, and we're going to be right back with everybody for Nash Sports Heat Race.
of day one of racing action here at ROK Vegas. Vortex Racing Engines, Levanto Tires, and they're coming together to make a fun weekend of racing out here in Las Vegas. I'm Tony Laporta, joined high above the track here in Las Vegas with Chris Wheeler. And Chris, we've got one heat race left to go. It's the Nash Motorsports ROK VLR Senior. This is C versus D. Are you ready?
I can't wait. I got my zip line harness on. I'm ready for this one to finish so I can zip line on down to lunch.
Yeah, you don't want to get in front of Chris Wheeler when he's heading to lunch.
No. No, you do not.
VLR Senior is brought to you by Nash Motorsports. This is C versus D. Josh Campbell and Nico Sarfati are the front row with Steven Eisert and Zachary Clayman DeMello making the show here in row number 2. Nix Eggleston in the 5th position with Patricio Gonzalez. Taylor Minch in 7th. Frankie Mossman, another double-duty driver, in 8th. Stephen Miller and Bernal Valverde complete the top 10 here as the field makes their way into the final corner, waiting to see lights out.
So here come the drivers now working off turn number 11 through turn number 12. Into the tram lanes they go. Nice and steady, nice and steady.
You'll see that red light on that display just at the very top of your screen. When that light goes out, we can go racing, and it is fair game anywhere on that front straightaway. Wow, and Chris, you see when a couple of those leaders locked up the brakes getting into turn 1, everybody kicked out a little sideways there.
Man, watching Clayman DeMello there on the outside of turn number 1 was awesome, but Clayman DeMello not going to enjoy his trip through turn number 3 there.
No, but again, the good news is everybody makes it through the opening 3 corners cleanly and safely. We're off and running here in this one. The 926 of Josh Campbell keeping just a wad of very fast go-karts. There's probably better terms than a wad, but a wad of very...
A plethora,
a cornucopia of fast karts with talented drivers. He keeps all of them behind him, and he'll unwind the steering wheel from turn number 10 and make the run across the start-finish line to complete lap number 1. The 930 of Nico Sarfati took the lights out for this race in the 2nd position. He'll come across the line in 3rd, giving way to Steven Eisert. Eisert up to 2nd aboard the 939. Now he's trying to go from 2nd to 1st. That's exactly what he does. Move Eisert up a spot around the 926 at Campbell. Eisert, your race leader here, working lap number 2.
So this one, I don't see as much team-on-team, chassis-on-chassis parity, and I think that's going to make this one a little bit more of a hectic race.
Yeah, a little more confrontational perhaps because you're not worried about the guy you got to go back and work on your go-kart next to being mad at you for what you did.
Yeah.
So working lap number 2, field makes their way down the back straightaway, unwinds the steering wheel, and Eisert out in front here. Josh Campbell, though, doing a very good job not getting too deterred by losing the race lead, gets right back on his game and stays behind Eisert. Then in 3rd, you've got Taylor Minch, Zachary Clayman DeMello, Nix Eggleston, and Nico Sarfati has dropped another 3 positions after taking the lights out for this race in 2nd. Sarfati down to 6th. So needs to stop the backslide here after 2 laps of racing.
So look out front, though. It's Stephen Miller in the 977, gone purple early, 46.870. Everything's still pretty tight, though.
Well, that's really impressive, I think, when you see a guy like Miller, who's mired back in the bottom half of the top 10. Miller at the line was scored in 8th position. To rip off a fast lap like that, either we just don't see him that well, and he's kind of on an island all by himself, or he's hooked up, he's in a fast train of karts, and he just had that extra little bit that nobody else around him did. Let's see here as they come across the line. Does anybody take over? Top lap honors Stephen Miller, still reigning dominant as he goes back-to-back fast laps. That time by it's a 46.432. Watch for Miller to start picking up.
2.5 tenths of a second faster than your leader Eisert here on board the 939 machine. So these karts wiggle their way back around here through 6, 7. Now the left-hander at 8. The hard right-hander at turn number 9. Exit shot needed here to carry the momentum down through the little kink all the way to turn number 10. Man, what great racing, Tony Laporta, we've had here this morning.
Yeah, already the first morning of on-track competition after 2 days of practice and some qualifying late in the afternoon yesterday. Really strong stuff to come out of the gate with here at ROK Vegas 2024. Every heat, I feel like there's been something to talk about, an entertaining moment, if not a whole entertaining race. Here we go, a little bit farther back. That's going to be the fight for 3rd position.
Well, that was Mr. Excitement himself, Zachary Clayman DeMello. He went purple at the stripe and then threw it in on Taylor Minch to take over the 3rd spot.
Clayman DeMello's hair completely blonde. I think it's a look that maybe you could consider rocking.
I think I did in the early 2000s.
I think I saw it. Were those the frosted tips days?
Well, it was the full frost.
The full frost.
Puka shells on double pop collar.
I was just about to say, I think puka shells were involved.
Yeah.
There was a collar.
Yeah,
but it was popped.
Two.
Yeah.
That's when you used to wear 2 polos.
Abercrombie and Fitch would see Chris Wheeler come in and fear.
Big Hollister guy.
They would fear for what Chris Wheeler would do when they got inside the dimly lit stores in the mall. Hollister.
Meanwhile, Stephen Miller not going to let it happen. Goes purple once again from the 8th spot. So I think Stephen Miller's in a really good spot here. He's the back of this train. He gets a little bit of gap out front of him, and he lays down another lap. Just nothing really moving. Nobody really shaking and grooving yet. But 3.5 minutes plus still left on the clock.
Hey, shaking and grooving. You get a few drinks to some of these guys on the casino floor later tonight. You might see some shaking and grooving. Coming around to work the back straightaway. Everybody takes a quick look over their right shoulder to see what kind of breathing room they have down the back straightaway. 3.5 minutes to go, less than that really, when they come back around here to cross the start-finish line. And Josh Campbell, your pole sitter in this one, thanks to a lap time of 46.133. Obviously, Chris, he has plenty of pace. We saw that in qualifying. But Clayman DeMello goes purple, that time by 46.169, and he is right there, very, very close to making a move on Josh Campbell for second. But Clayman DeMello's got a field of 4 or 5 carts right behind him. He's got to be mindful.
Yeah, Clayman DeMello, seasoned expert and a professional here when it comes to motorsports on a global scale.
Absolutely.
He knows the game. He knows that once you arrive, you've got to go.
Yeah.
And he's not going to sit there and he's not going to wait. We call him Mr. Excitement because, boy, has he brought it over the years and everything he's ever driven. But the Pride of Canada really sitting tight here in the 3rd spot. Just really good through the technical stuff. I'm wondering if he's a tooth or 2 off on the rear gearing. Just watching how good he is through some of these tighter technical corners. He gets up out of the corner quite well, but as soon as he gets kind of stretched out a little bit, he kind of pull away. As you can see it right there as he starts to close up on the back bumper of Campbell. And that gap tends to grow mainly off of the 11-12 area.
Man, not far back behind these guys, Zachary Clayman DeMello, who we're talking about. Nico Serafati, the driver who started this race on the off-pole, front row starting position in 2nd place. Serafati's done a good job at keeping pace up and hanging with this front Packer cart. Serafati in the 930s right behind one of Ryan Ruth's drivers, Nix Eggleston. And Eggleston is right there in that 5th position. So Serafati is just a pass or 2 away from really changing what has looked like a negative heat race up to this point. Clayman DeMello makes another pass into the entry of turn number 3. Clayman DeMello around pole sitter Campbell. Clayman DeMello now to 2nd.
Minch is going to get through to 3rd also, and now I actually believe Eggleston's going to try and get through as well. A lot of checkup here in the 5th spot.
Yeah, everybody was kind of set off there. The powder keg went off when Zachary Clayman DeMello forced the issue down into turn number 3. And that's not to say that he did anything overly aggressive.
No.
He just made a well-timed pass.
Yeah, and turn 3 is going to be one of those places all weekend, Tony, where we're going to see, a surprise attack, a surprise move where somebody's not expecting it. But it's a great place to do it at because you can defend quickly back over the 4-5 area and still get your exit shot and not worry about a crossover.
I think turn 3 is going to be the hot spot for passing. At least that's what we've seen so far.
There's another one.
To this point. That might have been the 924 of Eggleston.
That was for 4th.
Yeah, Eggleston around Josh Campbell. So now Josh Campbell's the driver who really needs to find a way to stop the bleeding here. Clayman DeMello. The question is now, with 30 seconds left on the clock, they're not going to beat that back to the line. So effectively 3 laps to go here. Can Clayman DeMello run up there, get Iser, get the lead, and get the win here in heat race number 1?
Tony, I think it's going to be tight on the clock.
You think so?
I mean, they're off at 10 now, and there's still 20 seconds left. They're going to get a bonus lap here.
Yeah. So essentially this is 3 to go at the line.
Yeah.
Because they'll see 2 to go when they get back. And Isert, and you said something about Clayman DeMello knows that when he gets there, he's got to go. I mean, the guy's been at the top level of American motorsport. He had his stint in IndyCar. And for the 3rd time, he picks his spot on the entry to turn number 3, Clayman DeMello to the race lead. Wow, he's really found something he likes over there.
And here comes Taylor Minch, a name I haven't said in 15 years.
I was going to say.
Since he was on board I believe it would have been a top cart.
Yeah, top cart.
All those years ago.
Yeah, that's the first thing I think of when I think of Taylor Minch or those top cart days. And Minch right there in the middle of all this with Steven Eisert, but they're chasing new race leader Zachary Clayman DeMello. They unwind and come out of the infield, off the back corner, actually. That final hairpin now, we should see the sticks displayed at the starter stand. We do, in fact, see 2 to go.
So Clayman DeMello, Minch, then it would be Eisert, Eggleston, and Campbell, your top 5. But, Tony, it's the top 8's race here.
Oh, man, this is the biggest train at the front of the pack late in the race I think we've seen all morning.
But it still seems a bit controlled yet. You're seeing one guy move, one guy bounce, whatever, but you're not seeing a real big shuffle of cards here.
No. Taylor Minch is going to be patient, I think, up until turn number 10 here. They unwind out of 8, get ready for the run through turn number 9, and then it's about carrying speed and momentum down this dog-leg back straightaway. For turn number 10, they'll set their sights. One of the last really good passing opportunities. Clayman DeMello has enough speed to cover all challengers behind him through 11 and out of 12. Nash Motorsports, C versus D, VLR Senior Heat 1 goes. Not yet.
1 lap, Tony.
I know, man.
You keep doing it.
This lap count thing is messing me up. So let's not give Clayman DeMello the win just yet.
But a big defensive move there over Minch into 3. Minch going to try and set him up. Crossover, nope. Clayman DeMello going to hold down the bottom.
Oh,
Minch
wow.
is going to get it. Clayman DeMello locks up, slides the rear. Here comes Minch to the lead now.
Oh, my gosh. That's probably why we didn't see him getting too crazy, because they still had a lap and a half to go.
Tony, you're a smart guy for your age.
Now the white flag is out, and people are getting a bit more elbows up. Clayman DeMello might have just gotten a shot in the shorts there by the 924 of Nick Eggleston. Now they head to the final. Really good passing opportunity for the last time, Chris.
There it is. Taylor Minch is going to lead him through 10, 11, and now through turn number 12. Going to be your winner of Heat Race C versus D, round number 1. Clayman DeMello will be 2nd, Eggleston 3rd, Miller 4th, and Mossman with a big charge on the last lap for a top 5.
Yeah, we've got some Taylor Minch fans in the chat watching right now. He gets the job done in the 904. Minch scores the win. I'm going to work on understanding what 2 to go and 1 lap to go means.
Tell you what, let's go back to the classroom here.
Yeah.
At lunch, and I'll teach you everything you need to know, Tony.
Okay, thanks. I can't wait for that. That's why I knew it was a good deal when I heard Chris Wheeler was going to come out here and be a part of the event. Taylor Minch gets it done in C versus D for Nash Motorsports VLR Senior. Clayman DeMello 2nd. Nick Eggleston gets up there at the very end to finish 3rd. Miller 4th, and Frankie Mossman in the top 5. Sarafati 6th, Josh Campbell 7th, Eisert Gonzalez, and Felipe Aguiar the top 10. So that will do it for the morning program with ROK Vegas, Levanto Kart Tires, and Vortex Racing Engines. Bring you live coverage of ROK Vegas.